Chapter 57. The Morgue village was in Leping Commandery next to Linzhong Commandery. Zhang Baitao did not stop along the way and came directly to the Morgue village. The Morgue village had been a broken temple on a small path in the wilderness, so it had not been built in the provincial capital. 30 years ago, this place was only a small dilapidated temple, but now, it was a huge villa that was tens of thousands of meters tall. It was not as luxurious as those rich and powerful families, but it still showed a calm and dignified appearance. At the gates of the Morgue village, there were numerous disciples waiting. The Jianghu people came and went in an endless stream. Some Jianghu people carried boxes and bundles, which contained the heads of some villains. Such people would immediately be brought in by the disciples of the righteous manner. After verification, they would immediately be given all kinds of gold, silver, and even cultivation resources. Even if some Jianghu people came empty-handed, they would be led by the disciples of the Morgue village and arranged to stay in the village. There would be enough food and wine, and they could stay as many days as they wanted. Of course, the Jianghu people who came empty-handed did not have the face to stay in the Morgue village to eat and drink. Even if there were shameless people, the people of the Morgue village would not even need to act. Other people coming and going from the Morgue village would teach these shameless scum of the Jianghu. Seeing the prosperity of the Morgue village, Zhang Baitao shook his head. The scene of the Ba Mountain Sword sect was much worse than the Morgue village. The entire Ba Mountain Sword sect only had about 3,000 formal disciples. Even adding on some honorary disciples and servants, there were less than 10,000. Usually, everyone practiced the sword and cultivated on Ba Mountain. It was very quiet, and it was rare to see a noisy scene like this. Zhang Baitao walked to the gates of the Morgue village. Immediately, a disciple of the Morgue village walked over and respectfully raised his hands. "Sir, why have you come to the Morgue village? Is there anything you need my help with?" The disciples in charge of welcoming the guests in front of the morgue were very clever. When ordinary Jianghu people came, they would only take them to eat and rest. Those who brought the heads of the bandits and villains must have a certain level of strength. After receiving the bounty from the morgue, they would arrange a higher level of food and wine. People like Zhang Baitao, who had connate realm power at such a young age and looked extraordinary, had to be treated well. Zhang Baitao raised his hands and said, "This one wants to see the young master of the village, Sir Nie Donglu." The disciple hesitated and said, "Young master, please forgive me. Our young master has a lot of things to do. There are many heroes coming and going in the loyalty gathering village. Our young master has to help entertain them." In reality, Nie Donglu was not so busy. But as the young master of the Morgue village, he was a famous person in the younger generation of the Jianghu. If he had to see anyone who came, then he would really be too busy, and it would easily affect his cultivation. Zhang Baitao bowed with folded hands and said, "This one really has an urgent matter and wishes to see the young master. Please, little brother, help pass the message and say that Zhang Baitao of the Ba Mountain Sword sect requests an audience." When the disciple heard that Zhang Baitao was from the Ba Mountain Sword sect of the 7 sects and 8 schools, he immediately nodded and said, "Young master, please wait in the guest hall for a moment. I will go inform the young master." The disciple heard that Zhang Baitao was from one of the 7 sects and 8 schools. He immediately nodded and said, "Sir, please wait in the guest hall. I will go notify the young master." If it was a warrior from a small faction, Nie Donglu might not meet him. But the other was a disciple of Ba Mountain Sword sect, one of the 7 sects and 8 schools. He had to notify Nie Donglu before making a decision. In a study of the Morgue village, a handsome young man dressed in blue brocade robes was silently studying a fist manual. This young man was only in his 20s. He was handsome, and the lines on his face seemed to have been chiseled by knives and were very sharp. However, there was a hint of a smile at the corner of his mouth. Like a mask, it covered up his sharp presence and gave people a very gentle presence. This young man was the young master of the Morgue village, Ling Yun Bu Yu Nie Donglu. Nie Donglu's nickname was Ling Yun Bu Yu. The nicknames that martial artists gave people were more reliable than their names. There were only wrong names, but not wrong nicknames. In Nie Donglu's nickname, Ling Yun referred to his martial arts. At such a young age, he had already cultivated his father's heaven and earth cloud hand to initial success. Bu Yu referred to Nie Donglu's way of doing things. There were 2 meanings. One referred to being able to move clouds and bring rain to the people. Everyone in the Jianghu praised Nie Donglu for having his father's spirit of brotherhood. At the crucial moment, he would come to help like rain. The second referred to Nie Donglio's own abilities. He had once led a group of his Jianghu friends to kill the Black Cloud 18 villages that had done many evil deeds. He had been in the middle, and laid out one trap after another. Like moving clouds and bringing rain, he had used only 100 people to kill thousands of Black Cloud 18 villages and become famous in the Jianghu. It was also because of this battle that Nie Donglu was ranked 6th on the Wind Sweeping Tower's Longhu leaderboard. Wind Sweeping Tower was the largest organization in the Jianghu. Not only did they rank the top forces in the Jianghu, they also had 3 leaderboards. They were the Longhu leaderboard, the Honor leaderboard, and the Supreme leaderboard. They were also collectively known as the Longhu Honor leaderboard. The rule of the Longhu leaderboard was that all young martial artists under the age of 40 could be on it, but only the top 100. This meant that the young martial artists on the leaderboard were all talented. The Honor leaderboard was named after the world's wind and clouds. There was no age or martial arts restriction. As long as you had enough fame in the Jianghu and could influence the world, you could be on the leaderboard. Therefore, there were demonic giants, righteous masters, blacksmiths, and even commoners from the royal family. The leaderboard was only ranked according to fame, not strength. There were only the top 50 on the leaderboard. There were only 10 people on the Honor leaderboard. As the name suggested, those who were on the leaderboard were the most powerful in the world. They had the power to influence the Jianghu. Wind Sweeping Tower did not have the right to rank them. Only those who were recognized by the entire Jianghu had the right to be on the leaderboard. However, there were only 8 people on the Honor leaderboard. The first and second were Dugu Weiwei, the leader of the Kunlun devil cult, and the deity Ning Xuanji, the leader of the true martial arts sect of the 3 pristine Dao sect. The 2 of them disappeared after the battle. It was not even certain if they were dead or alive. Therefore, the first and second place had been debated in the Jianghu for many years, but there was no conclusion. The morgue was bustling, but Nie Donglio's study was very quiet. Whether it was the famous young master of the morgue village or the young hero ranked 6th on the Longhu leaderboard, Nie Donglu knew himself very well. All of these were built on the premise that he had strength. Without strength, it would be useless even if he had the title of the young master of the morgue village. Outsiders did not know, but Nie Donglu knew. The morgue did not belong to the Nie family alone. The 4 people who had sworn brotherhood with his father were all dead, but they all had children. If he did not live up to expectations, according to the rules of the Jianghu, those people had the right to take over the morgue. There was a knock on the door. Nie Donglu said coolly, "Come in." The people of the morgue knew Nie Donglio's rules. If someone did not have enough power to find him, they would not dare to disturb Nie Donglu. The disciple pushed the door open and said, "Young master, there is someone outside who calls himself Zhang Baitao of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect asking for an audience. Do you want to see him?" Zhang Baitao? Nie Donglu searched for this name in his mind. It was not that his memory was bad, but that there were too many young heroes he knew in the Jianghu. The morgue gathered the heroes of the Jianghu. Nie Donglu knew this from a young age. He had always done this, using money to make connections. In the past, he had led hundreds of the young heroes of the Jianghu to destroy the Black Cloud 18 stockades. He had not contacted these people through the morgue, but through his own good friends. A moment later, Nie Donglu realized. It's him, I have some impression. He is the disciple of the elder of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, Sorrowful Autumn Fu, Teacher Cien. While he is not at the top of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, he is an inner sect disciple. When I came to celebrate the birthday of the sect leader of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect with my father, I once chatted with this Zhang Baitao. He is a steady person. The disciple hurriedly said, "I have arranged for him to be in the guest hall." Nie Donglu put down the fist manual in his hand and said, "All right, I will go now." In the guest hall, Zhang Baitao did not even touch the tea on the table. His face was expressionless, but he was slightly nervous inside. He knew Nie Donglu, but he had only spoken a few words to him when Nie Donglu had represented the morgue to celebrate the birthday of the sect leader of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. The two could not be considered friends. While he had heard that Nie Donglu was a loyal person, and that if a fellow Jianghu asked him for help, Nie Donglu would help as much as he could. But right now, he was going to use the power of the morgue to kill people. He did not know if Nie Donglu would agree. After a while, Nie Donglu walked in with a warm smile. He bowed and said, "Brother Zhang, we have not seen each other for many years since we parted at the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. How is your teacher, Elder Tsin?" Zhang Baitao forced a smile and said, "My teacher is well." After saying this, Zhang Baitao gritted his teeth and bowed deeply to Nie Donglu. He said solemnly, "Young master, I originally did not want to trouble you this time, but right now, in all of Northern Yen, only you, young master, can help me. If young master helps me this time, I, Zhang Baitao, will be eternally grateful and will be at your beck and call." Chapter 58. Nie Donglu did not expect Zhang Baitao to give such a big bow to Nie Donglu. An inner disciple from a big sect like Zhang Baitao, who reached the Xiantian realm at a young age, was very proud. But now, Zhang Baitao came up and gave him such a big bow. He even said that he would be at his beck and call. It was obvious that Zhang Baitao's request was not a small matter, so Nie Donglu did not agree to it rashly. He stretched out his hand and a gentle force seeped into Zhang Baitao's body, causing him to straighten up involuntarily. This made Zhang Baitao secretly surprised. This young master of the Memorial Manor was probably about to break through to the inner gang state of the 5th level of the Qi-controlling realm. The 3rd level of the body-refining realm and the 5th level of the Qi-controlling realm was a watershed. The 5th level of the Qi-controlling realm could be considered an expert anywhere, but Nie Donglu was only in his early 20s. He was even a few years younger than Zhang Baitao. Nie Donglu patted Zhang Baitao's shoulder and said, "What do you mean by always at my beck and call? I, Nie Donglu, have no subordinates, only brothers. Although I haven't known Brother Zhang for a long time, I feel like old friends at first sight. If Brother Zhang has any difficulties, just tell me. If I can help, I won't refuse." After Nie Donglu finished speaking, he still didn't say whether or not he would agree to it. However, Zhang Baitao was very touched. In his opinion, it was already very good that Nie Donglu could do this for someone he didn't know very well. So, Zhang Baitao told Nie Donglu about the matter without hesitation. Nie Donglu didn't hesitate. Finally, Zhang Baitao said with hatred, "The hatred of killing my father is absolutely irreconcilable. Chu Xiu destroyed my Zhang family. If I don't kill him for revenge, what's the point of practicing martial arts?" Nie Donglu raised his eyebrows. One person destroyed a small family with a Xiantian realm warrior? As a fellow Xiantian realm warrior, there were many people in the Jianghu who could do this. Even Nie Donglu could do it easily. However, there were definitely not many who could do the same, especially when the other party was so young. This made Nie Donglu hesitate. Nie Donglu thought for a moment, then said to Zhang Baitao, "Brother Zhang, don't worry, I will help you with this matter. But as you can see, there are a lot of things that need to be done, so please stay here for one night. I will give you an answer tomorrow. How about it?" Zhang Baitao wasn't the kind of person who didn't know what was good for him, so he quickly agreed. After sending Zhang Baitao away, Nie Donglu immediately sent someone to investigate the news of the Zhang family being annihilated in Shanyang Prefecture. The Morgue village was the local snake of the Northern Yen region. In the Northern Yen region, the Morgue village's information network was even better than wind-sweeping towers. The warriors who came and went from the Morgue village could bring them a lot of information. So it didn't take long for Nie Donglio's confidant to pass the information to him. There was a lot of detailed information about the Zhang family being annihilated in Shanyang Prefecture. There was even news from Wind-Sweeping Tower. As one of the 6 gangs, Wind-Sweeping Tower's headquarters might not be in the Northern Yen region, but there was a branch in Northern Yen, so they had to give the Morgue village some face. Nie Donglu flicked the paper in his hand and said lightly, "A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant." That old fox of the Zhang family was like a goose that pecked his eye. Looking at this information, it should be the Zhang family who made the first move, but they were killed instead. A warrior from a small place like Shanyang Prefecture has a poor outlook. Does he really think that all the Xiantian realm warriors in the world are as strong as him? The disciple next to him asked, "Young master, do you mean that the Morgue village doesn't care about Zhang Baitao's matter?" Nie Donglu said lightly, "Of course not. Does he really think that the Morgue village is here to clean up their mess? If he doesn't have the ability to kill, he wants the Morgue village to do it. What a joke. Also, if we care about this, what if other people ask us to care about them in the future? Vendettas in the pugilistic world are the most unreasonable things. The Zhang clan wanted to seize Chu Xiu's belongings, but Chu Xiu didn't show any mercy and ruthlessly killed the Zhang clan's father and son. Who is right and who is wrong? The disciple nodded and said, "Then we will just send this Zhang Baitao away. He is just an inner sect disciple of Ba Mountain Sword Sect, and Ba Mountain Sword Sect is so far from northern Yen. We do not have much contact with Ba Mountain Sword Sect." Nie Donglu shook his head and said, "That's where you're wrong. My mortuary manor was able to develop to this point by relying on our reputation and connections. Whether it's useful now or not, it will be useful sooner or later. It is impossible to use the Morgue Village's name to help Zhang Baitao, but it is possible to use my name to help Zhang Baitao. Tell Zhang Baitao to prepare for the banquet tonight. I will introduce a few friends to him." After nightfall, Zhang Baitao arrived on time for the banquet. He was still nervous, not knowing if Nie Donglu would help him this time. However, when it was time to eat, apart from Nie Donglu, there were 3 other Xiantian realm warriors. They were not young either, probably in their 30s or 40s. Nie Donglu introduced them to the 3. "This is Zhang Baitao, the personal disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect elder, Sorrowful Autumn Poem, Teacher CN." Then he said to Zhang Baitao, "These 3 are deadly twin spears Zhang Yu, Cold Mountain Sword, Li Qingfeng, and Chief Escort of Fu Wei Escort Agency, Lu Yuanhai." After both sides were seated, they toasted each other. Then Nie Donglu said to the 3, "This time I introduced Brother Zhang to the 3 of you because Brother Zhang is in trouble and has come to the Morgue Village for help. But there are too many things going on at the Morgue Village recently and I can't get away. So I don't know if the 3 of you have time to help." As he spoke, Nie Donglu told the 3 about the matter. Of course, he only described it as a Jianghu killing and did not tell them the inside information he knew. Zhang Yu and the other 2 looked at each other and frowned. They did not agree directly. The 4 of them working together to kill a Khanate cultivator did not look hard. But if Zhang Baitao had the confidence, then he would not have come to the Morgue Village. Clearly the idea was difficult. Even Zhang Baitao was not confident. They could help, but if there was an accident and they were injured, then it would not be worth it. Seeing this, Zhang Baitao bowed to the 3 with red eyes. "If the 3 of you agree to help me, I will remember this favor. Also, as an inner sect disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, I have accumulated some cultivation resources. After this, I will give them to the 3 of you as thanks." Hearing this, the 3's eyes brightened. They looked at each other and nodded secretly. The cultivation resources given by the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, one of the 7 sects and 8 schools, were of high quality. The oldest of the 3, the chief escort of Fu Wei Escort Agency, Lu Yuanfu, stroked his beard as he stood up and said, "Since young hero Zhang has said so, we will not decline your offer. Our Fu Wei Escort Agency specializes in escorting goods in Linzhong Commandery. As long as Chu Xiu has not left Linzhong Commandery, I will definitely be able to find him." At the side, Nie Donglu showed a hint of a smile. His mission was now complete. If Zhang Baitao could kill Chu Xiu, he would not thank Lu Yuanhai and the other 2 who had agreed to his conditions because of the benefits, but Nie Donglu. As for Lu Yuanhai and the other 2, Nie Donglu had specially found them. He wanted to send them away temporarily, or rather, make use of them. Normally, the 3 of them did not dare to kill the truly vicious criminals who came to the morgue to exchange for the bounty. They only attacked the petty thieves and robbers who came to the morgue to fish in troubled waters. Nie Donglu had long been dissatisfied with them. But the 3 of them had some fame in the surrounding commanderies, and knew many people. For the reputation of the Morgue Village, Nie Donglu could not directly chase them away. Now was a good chance to send them away temporarily. The disciples of the Morgue Village saw this scene and could not help but show respect in their eyes. The young master was indeed the young master. In the time it took to have a meal, he had satisfied 2 groups of people, and at the same time solved 2 problems. Just as Zhang Baitao and the others had begun to take action and were ready to seek revenge, Chu Xiu was rushing to Luyang Mountain. Luyang Mountain was just an ordinary barren mountain in the Linzhong Commandery. It was not a good place, so there were no martial arts sections. At the foot of Luyang Mountain, there was only an ordinary small town, Luyang Town. It was not on the main road, so few warriors would come here. But at the moment, Luyang Town was very lively. There were many low-level warriors. The reason was that a few days ago, Someone had seen a green light shooting into the sky at Luyang Mountain. They suspected that there was a treasure here, but after investigating, they did not find anything. But even so, there were still many low-level warriors who came here to join in the fun. If there was an ancient relic, they could get some soup if they could not get the meat. When Chu Xiu arrived at Luyang town, he found an inn to stay. He did not even go up the mountain. It was true that there was a treasure in Luyang Mountain, but the treasure was still locked in the relic at this time. It would only be revealed when the formation was completely broken. It was useless to go up the mountain now. When the time was up, the formation would be ineffective due to time, and the relic would naturally appear. So during this time, Chu Xiu had been living in seclusion. He cultivated in the inn, and only went out to eat and get some fresh air. Chapter 59. Zhang Baitao, Lu Yuanhai, Zhang Yu, and Li Qingfeng gathered outside Luyang town. Zhang Baitao asked in a deep voice, "Chief Escort Lu, are you sure that Chu Xiu is in Qingyang town?" Lu Yuanhai waved his hand casually and said, "Don't worry, young hero Zhang. I'm absolutely reliable." The brothers of the escort agency have found out that although Chu Xiu has been living in seclusion since he came to Luyang town and didn't reveal his name, it must be him based on his appearance and clothes. A cold light flashed in Zhang Baitao's eyes and he said, "Well, I'll leave it to you this time." The three of them also cupped their hands and said, "Don't worry, young hero Zhang. This time, we will definitely help you get rid of Chu Xiu." At this time, in Luyang town, Chu Xiu was still sitting leisurely by the window of the inn, drinking and eating. In his mind, he was constantly thinking about the operation of the piercing sun and moon internal skill. Compared with the Xiantian skill, the piercing sun and moon internal skill was of great help to Chu Xiu's combat effectiveness. Similarly, this skill also played a great role in the operation of genuine qi. Although the piercing sun and moon internal skill would not really reach the power of the piercing sun and moon internal skill, at least it would not be a problem for him to cut out the sword light with his bare hands. It could be said that this martial art was most suitable for warriors at the 5th level of qi-controlling realm to practice. With Chu Xiu's current realm, he should also consider how to step into the 5th level of qi-controlling realm, which was a big bottleneck for Chu Xiu. Just as Chu Xiu was eating and thinking, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Chu Xiu had killed a lot of people, and because of his own cultivation skill, he was somewhat sensitive to killing intent or evil spirit. At this time, he faintly felt that there was a murderous intent around him, and the center of it was himself. Chu Xiu raised his head and saw two people walking into the inn. One of them was holding two short spears while the other was carrying a heavy sword on his back. Outside the inn, near the window of Chu Xiu's room, there were two people walking towards him. One of them was a bit older, looking to be in his 40s. He held a long saber in his hand, while the other was dressed in blue and held a long sword in his hand. Chu Xiu didn't know Zhang Baitao. Although he was Zhang Baichen's brother, his appearance was different from Zhang Baichen's. However, Chu Xiu could feel a deep hatred in his eyes. He didn't know if it was towards him or others. Picking up the wine cup, Chu Xiu pretended to drink, but the next moment, the wine cup in his hand suddenly flew out of his hand and was thrown with great force towards Zhang Yu, the deadly twin spears. Chu Xiu himself jumped out and unsheathed the red-sleeve saber on the table. A magnificent crimson color appeared in front of Li Qingfeng's eyes. Chu Xiu didn't know who these four people were, and he wasn't even 100% sure that these four people were coming for him. However, since he felt a murderous intent from these four people, and these four people were not weak innate experts, Chu Xiu had to make the first move. Otherwise, if he was surrounded by these four people, Chu Xiu didn't have absolute confidence that he could escape from four strong innate experts. The sudden attack made Zhang Yu and Li Qingfeng unable to react. In fact, they had already noticed Chu Xiu from the moment they entered the inn. There were so many Jianghu people in the inn, but only Chu Xiu was the most conspicuous and the strongest. However, they deliberately didn't look at Chu Xiu and just pretended to walk into the inn normally. They wanted to form an encirclement with Zhang Baitao and Lu Yuanhai, who were outside the inn, so that Chu Xiu couldn't escape. But who would have thought that Chu Xiu, who was drinking quietly one moment, would suddenly make a move the next moment? When they reacted, the wine cup and Chu Xiu's figure were already in front of them. Zhang Yu used two short spears, and the wine cup was supported by Chu Xiu's powerful strength. After it was thrown, it directly broke through the air with a powerful sound. Its power was not much weaker than those sharp hidden weapons, so Zhang Yu could only subconsciously block the wine cup with his spear in front of his body. At this time, Chu Xiu's saber had already slashed out. The crimson saber was shining with a strange red light. Chu Xiu's true qi sword, and the murderous intent in his eyes condensed into a murderous aura. The two merged into one, condensing on the body of Chu Xiu's saber, flashing a dazzling blood-red light. Even though Chu Xiu had not yet reached the 5th level of the Imperial Qi realm, his saber at this time already had the style of an inner Qi realm martial artist. Li Qingfeng had never seen such a terrifying saber force. In front of him was endless blood red, as if he would be swallowed in the next moment. With a loud shout, Li Qingfeng's figure turned, and the cold mountain heavy sword on his back was already in his hand, blocking in front of his body. His cold mountain heavy sword was a 4th transformation weapon that he had obtained by chance in the past. For a Xiantian martial artist who was born as a rogue cultivator to be able to hold a 4th transformation precious weapon was already considered very rare. The saber and the sword clashed, and a loud clang resounded. The powerful force brought by piercing the sun and the moon suddenly exploded from the edge of the saber, making a loud sound. Li Qingfeng let out a muffled groan, and his eyes revealed a trace of horror. The webbing between his thumb and forefinger was bleeding, and under the impact of the saber, Li Qingfeng continuously retreated several steps. He cultivated the heavy sword, but now he was directly crushed by Chu Xiu's strength. Before he could react, the crimson saber light appeared again. The cold mountain heavy sword in Li Qingfeng's hand had yet to dance, but Chu Xiu's saber force suddenly changed, becoming ethereal and magnificent, like the light drizzle of dusk. It was incomparably graceful, but it also carried a magnificent murderous aura. Under the continuous blade momentum that was like a drizzle, it finally converged into a line in an instant. The inner strength that could pierce through the sun and moon suddenly exploded. At this moment, human heads danced in the air, and blood burst out like a fountain. The entire inn suddenly became silent, and then there were ear-piercing screams. The inn's workers and the ordinary people who were eating screamed and ran out, afraid that they would be accidentally injured. Zhang Yu, who was at the side, held 2 spears in his hands, and looked at Chu Xiu in a daze. From the time Chu Xiu threw the cup to the time he blocked with his spear, how long had it taken? In the end, by the time he was free, Chu Xiu had actually killed Li Qingfeng with 1 strike. At this time, Zhang Yu suddenly felt that it was not easy to take Zhang Baitao's things. If they had known that this opponent was so terrifying, even if Nie Donglu was the middleman, they would not have agreed. Chu Xiu's imposing manner of killing one person first made Zhang Yu and Lu Yuanhai, who was outside the inn, feel a sense of fear in their hearts. These 3 were all wily old foxes in this generation of martial arts in Linzhong Commandery and Leping Commandery. Usually, when asked to deal with real villains, they would only hire some petty thieves to make up the numbers. They did not expect that they would encounter such a fierce person. Zhang Baitao frowned. He also felt the fear in the hearts of these 2 people, and at the same time, he was shocked by Chu Xiu's strength. He finally knew how his father died. With this kind of strength, even if the Zhang family had another innate expert, they would still not be able to stop him. However, how could Zhang Baitao give up when the enemy who killed his father was right in front of him? He directly shouted, "The hatred of my father is absolutely irreconcilable. Chu Xiu, go to hell." Then, Zhang Baitao directly smashed the window of the inn with his sword, jumped into the inn, and attacked Chu Xiu, not giving Zhang Yu and Lu Yuanhai a chance to hesitate. Hearing the words, "the hatred of my father," Chu Xiu immediately understood who the opponent was. These 4 people really came for him, and the one who attacked should be Zhang Songling's eldest son, Zhang Baitao, who had joined the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. Irreconcilable? Since you dare to come today, I will send you to reunite with your dead father. Then, Chu Xiu chopped out with the red sleeve knife in his hand. The drizzle was crimson, and the knife momentum was endless, colliding with Zhang Baitao's purple electric cyan light sword. The lightning was like thunder, and the sword qi was like a rainbow. Zhang Baitao attacked with hatred, pouring his internal force into the long sword. Every time he chopped, there was a numbing tremor, and even Chu Xiu's Xiantian skill could not offset it. But at the same time, Chu Xiu's dusk drizzle red sleeve blade also had a strange and sorrowful blade momentum, and its speed was extremely fast. The 2 of them exchanged dozens of blows in the blink of an eye. They were evenly matched, and neither took a step back. Zhang Baitao shouted at Zhang Yu and Lu Yuanhai, What are you waiting for if you don't attack? Don't forget what you promised the young Heights Lord. Zhang Yu and Lu Yuanhai's expressions changed. If Zhang Baitao had come to find them, they would have run away by now, instead of getting involved in this mess. But the problem was that Nye Donglu was the middleman. If they went back on their word, how could they explain it to Nye Donglu in the future? As people of the Northern Yen martial arts world, and born in the wilderness, they would rather offend the Northern Yen imperial court than offend the Morgue village, because the latter would make them rejected by the entire Northern Yen martial arts world. The two looked at each other, and then looked at Chu Xiao, who seemed to be evenly matched with Zhang Baitao. Gritting their teeth, they began to attack Chu Xiao from both sides with Zhang Baitao. Chapter 60. Zhang Baitao was the strongest martial artist that Chu Xiao had fought with since he entered Jianghu. He was also the one with the most authentic background. He was an inner disciple of a major sect. The rest, such as Li Zhong, the fire monk of the Great Light Temple, and Shen Bai's younger brother, Shen Mo, were not formally taught martial arts since they were young. In fact, Chu Xiao was the same. Although he had obtained many powerful skills through the advantage of the plot prophet, he did not have a master to teach him. The basic skills like the Xiantian skill were fine, but the rest of the martial arts, such as the application of piercing the sun and the moon, were all figured out by Chu Xiao himself. In the end, he used them in actual combat and thought about modifying them after the battle. Although this kind of unorthodox method sounded a little unreliable, everything was based on actual combat. No matter who the person in front of him was, no matter what kind of martial arts he used, as long as he could kill his opponent, then it was good martial arts. Among the countless purple electric sword lights, a touch of crimson was flowing there. The sword momentum was like a drizzle. Although it looked ethereal, it was extremely firm. At this time, Zhang Yu and Lu Yuanhai also pressed on from the left and right. The weapons used by Zhang Yu were very strange. They turned out to be two short spears. The left spear was evil and strange, and it was hard to say from which angle it would stab, while the right spear was strong and heavy. Although it was a short spear, when it swept and smashed, even Chu Xiao did not dare to take it head-on. Although Lu Yuanhai's martial arts were relatively mediocre, the saber in his hand was extremely sinister. The saber light could be slashed from anywhere, forcing Chu Xiao to dodge with all his might. His method was actually somewhat similar to the blood saber scripture that Chu Xiao first cultivated. These three people were not weak in actual combat. With the three of them working together, Chu Xiao was directly forced into a corner. A trace of cold light flashed in Zhang Baitao's eyes, and the long sword in his hand suddenly erupted with a bright green electric light. Fast, extremely fast. Like a bolt of lightning falling from the 9 heavens, in an instant, Chu Xiao was forced to barely defend with his saber. However, his hands had already been shaken by the internal energy that contained the power of purple lightning to the point that he could not even hold his saber steadily. Although Zhang Baitao hadn't reached the 5th level of qi control, his inner strength had already accumulated to the peak. Through the transmission of the weapon in his hand, the power of the purple lightning was incomparably strong. On his right, Lu Yuanhai was also very experienced. Cooperating with Zhang Baitao, the saber in his hand rippled with a frightening cold light. Like a poisonous snake, it twisted and slashed towards Chu Xiao's dantian. Phantom Snake Blade. With a qi sound, the saber light streaked across the front of Chu Xiao's body, tearing apart his warrior clothes. The sharp edge of the long saber even made him feel as if he was being pricked by needles. At this moment, a whistling wind suddenly attacked. Zhang Yu held his spear with both hands, and violent blood essence and true energy condensed in his hands. The two spears merged into one, and directly smashed down like a sledgehammer. The momentum was incomparably fierce and violent. At this moment, Chu Xiao had already been forced into a corner by Zhang Baitao's violet electric cyan light sword and Lu Yuanhai's phantom snake blade. There was no room for him to dodge. Although it was the first time the three of them worked together, it was incomparably smooth. Zhang Baitao, who was the strongest among them, did not act as the real killer. Instead, it was Zhang Yu, who had always kept a low profile, who carried out the killing blow. At this moment, Chu Xiao suddenly swept his saber horizontally. He did not care about Zhang Baitao and Lu Yuanhai, and used all his strength to meet Zhang Yu's two spears smashing down. Zhang Baitao and Lu Yuanhai's eyes revealed a hint of killing intent. This Chu Xiao was already panicking, and he was definitely going to die. Just when they wanted to make a move to kill Chu Xiao, Zhang Yu's 2 spears had already smashed down. The huge force caused Chu Xiao, who had hastily blocked it, to tremble his internal organs, and a stream of blood flowed out of his mouth. But at this time, he borrowed the force of the 2 spears smashing down to lean back, and the spirit-piercing sun and moon condensed his internal energy. However, he did not condense it in his hands, but behind him. The 2 forces superimposed, and only a loud bang was heard. The brick wall of the inn was directly smashed down, and Chu Xiao's figure directly jumped out of the inn, causing Zhang Baitao and Lu Yuanhai's sword and saber to miss. The 2 people's expressions suddenly changed. They did not expect Chu Xiao to have such a trick up his sleeve. Previously, they wanted to surround and kill Chu Xiao in the inn, but he still managed to escape. Quickly chase. Chu Xiao is injured, he can't escape. Zhang Baitao shouted at Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu was not an idiot. Without Zhang Baitao's instructions, he directly jumped out of the inn, wanting to chase after Chu Xiao while the momentum of the 2 spears had not subsided. But at this time, Chu Xiao, who had already jumped out of the range of the inn, suddenly turned back, and his figure collided with Zhang Yu, his eyes bursting with killing intent. Zhang Yu did not expect Chu Xiao to take the initiative to turn back. Although he was using a short spear, it was still a long weapon. When Chu Xiao got close to him, he subconsciously withdrew his long spear to block. But at this time, he was shocked to find that Chu Xiao had unknowingly grabbed his short spear with his left hand. Using the great sacrificial grappling hand, Chu Xiao's left hand had already grabbed his shoulder along the short spear. A burst of bone-cracking sounds came, and in an instant, Zhang Yu's left arm had been twisted like a fried dough twist. Chu Xiao's left hand moved along his arm, like a twisting poisonous snake, and pinched Zhang Yu's head. Before he could scream, Zhang Yu's head had already turned around and flew towards Zhang Baitao and Lu Yuanhai. Zhang Baitao and Lu Yuanhai, who were about to catch up, did not expect such a situation to happen. Just now they had forced Chu Xiao to a dead end, but in the blink of an eye, he killed one of them. Seeing the head flying towards him, Zhang Baitao subconsciously slashed with his sword, but in the next moment, a crimson saber light had already appeared in front of him. It was an extremely swift and fierce saber, so fast that Zhang Baitao could not even see the blade clearly. He could only see a touch of dazzling crimson. Azure Dragon in the sleeve. This extremely fast saber was the Azure Dragon in the sleeve, the hidden saber technique that had greatly helped Chu Xiao when he first started cultivating. In the beginning, Chu Xiao just subconsciously thought that hiding the saber in the sleeve was the hidden saber technique. It was not until just now that Chu Xiao realized that the so-called hidden saber technique was also hiding himself. When it was calm, it would be hidden under the sea, and when it erupted, it would be like an azure dragon emerging from the sea, tearing the sky apart. This saber had the incomparable charm of an azure dragon emerging from the sea. In addition, Chu Xiao had used the piercing sun and moon internal strength evil chi to display it. When this saber slashed down, it was the most powerful saber slash that Chu Xiao had ever made. Zhang Baitao clenched his teeth, and the long sword in his hand burst out a dazzling green light. The sword light danced, like an extremely powerful sword momentum. But Chu Xiao's saber was really too fast. Before he could use his sword move, it was shattered by Chu Xiao's saber. Even the 4th-rank sword in his hand was cut in half by Chu Xiao. The saber light sliced across his body. Even though Zhang Baitao retreated quickly, he was cut from his shoulder to his armpit by Chu Xiao's saber. Blood sprayed, and one of his arms was almost destroyed. Zhang Baitao's eyes were bloodshot. He did not retreat, but advanced. His sword was broken, but he still had his hands. Why was a sect like Ba Mountain Sword Sect only ranked among the 7 sects and 8 schools, and not the 5 great sword sects? Not just because they were not strong enough, but because their sword path was not as pure as the 5 great sword sections. Without the sword, Ba Mountain Sword Sect still had other martial arts. Zhang Baitao pressed forward, his right hand pointing out with a finger. In a flash, it was as fast as lightning. Lightning-patterned sword finger. In an instant, finger shadows flew, pointing at the major acupoints all over Chu Xiao's body. Zhang Baitao shouted, "Attack!" But at this time, Lu Yuanhai did not cooperate with Zhang Baitao. Instead, he turned and ran out of the inn. Li Qingfeng and Zhang Yu's deaths had truly terrified him. This Chu Xiao was too terrifying. Putting aside his strength, his methods were truly ruthless. He did not attack, but once he attacked, he took a life. When this Chu Xiu attacked again, he would most likely be the one dead. If he ran now, he would offend Nie Donglu at most. If he did not leave, he might even lose his life. Seeing this, Zhang Baitao was so angry that he wanted to curse. Cunning people like Lu Yuanhai were fierce when fighting a winning battle, but once they were in a difficult situation, they would only be a hindrance. Chu Xiu and them were all connate cultivators. He attacked 3 times in a row, killed 2 people, and seriously injured 1. Could it be that Chu Xiu was not injured at all? Just now, he had taken Zhang Yu's powerful double spear attack head-on. Although he had diverted the force, his internal organs had been shaken, and his own internal power had been greatly consumed. So Zhang Baitao had the courage to fight with Chu Xiu because he could still see an opportunity to kill Chu Xiu. But who would have thought that Lu Yuanhai would escape at this time, when he was fighting with all his might, and leave him here? But at this time, Zhang Baitao did not have time to think. The red sleeve drizzled, and the bright blade light enveloped him. The lightning-patterned sword finger and the red sleeve blade collided, and there was a clang. Using the power of the lightning-patterned sword finger, Zhang Baitao wanted to escape. But at this time, Chu Xiu's blade was shrouded in an extremely thick murderous intent and evil aura. Heaven's murderous intent, piercing the sun and moon. The scarlet blade pierced through Zhang Baitao's chest. The color of Chu Xiu's eyes also bloomed with a strange scarlet color. Irreconcilable? Then I'll send you to meet your father and brother, so that your family can reunite. No need to thank me. The blade was pulled out, and Zhang Baitao's eyes still had a trace of unwillingness, but he fell to the ground with a loud thud. Chapter 61. 4 innate realm warriors of the same level had joined forces to kill him. They were all experienced fighters and were in their prime. Although Chu Xiu had successfully killed 3 of them, he had also suffered some injuries. But it didn't matter. There was still a long time before the opening of the Lviang Mountain relic. He could completely recover from these minor injuries before the relic opened. Looking outside the inn, Chu Xiu's eyes revealed a hint of coldness. He had killed 3 people, but there was still 1 left. At this time, a group of people had gathered outside the inn. Most of them were low-level Jianghu people. It was very common for those who mingled in the Jianghu to fight with each other. It was normal for those who sold goods to steal business, and those who opened martial arts schools to cause trouble. However, a real life-and-death fight was relatively rare for them, especially when it involved a life-and-death fight between Xiantian realm martial artists. Furthermore, the people who attacked him were not nameless figures in the region around the Linzhong commandery. Someone who came later asked curiously, "Everyone, what's the situation inside?" One of the warriors who had witnessed the whole process sighed and said, "What a terrible fight!" Cold Mountain Sword, Li Qingfeng of Linzhong Commandery's lofty mountain prefecture was beheaded in an instant. Li Qingfeng had obtained the 4th Revolution precious weapon, Cold Mountain Heavy Sword, and made a name for himself not long ago. But he died just like that. It was really bad luck. And deadly twin spears Zhang Yu of Leping Commandery. When he was young, he only learned a little martial arts from a martial arts school's boxing master before he came out to roam Jianghu. He had 2 spears, but unfortunately, his death was even more tragic. His head was directly twisted off, and blood spurted out a foot high. The warrior who used the fast sword was the strongest. He seemed to be from a big sect. I couldn't tell the specifics. In the end, he was also stabbed through by someone. Only the chief escort of Fu Wei Escort Agency, Lu Yuanhai, retreated at the last moment. He didn't rush forward and fight with his life on the line. That old fox had always been very sly. When he encountered a strong enemy, he would definitely throw away the client's goods to save his life. It was normal for him to do such a thing. As for the killer, TSK, his strength is really strong, and his methods are also really ruthless. However, I really don't know him. When did our Linzhong commandery have such a fierce person? That warrior explained the situation to the people behind him. At this time, a gentle voice suddenly sounded. If I am not wrong, that sword user should be using the purple lightning azure light sword of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect's secret 8-character sword art. The other is a disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect of West Chu, one of the 7 sects and 8 schools. The cultivator turned his head and saw a white-robed, incomparably handsome young man with a faint smile on his face. He didn't know when this young man had appeared beside him. The most eye-catching thing about the white-clothed young man was the silver halberd on his back. The shape of the halberd was huge and ferocious. It didn't match his handsome appearance and temperament at all. The warrior was just about to say something when he saw Lu Yuanhai run out in a panic and look around. Feeling the murderous intent coming from behind him, Lu Yuanhai couldn't care so much. Everyone was watching and they surrounded the inn. Lu Yuanhai randomly chose a direction and slashed forward. He shouted angrily, "All of you get out of my way!" The direction Lu Yuanhai was looking for was the direction of the talkative warrior. This warrior's mouth was very sharp, but seeing Lu Yuanhai slash at him, he was so frightened he forgot to dodge and stood there in a daze. Just as he was about to be chopped down by Lu Yuanhai's blade, the white-robed young man beside him suddenly raised the long halberd in his hand. The crescent blade on the body of the halberd flickered with a frightening cold light. It was just a light flick, but there was a great force that attacked. The blade in Lu Yuanhai's hand was instantly shattered, and he himself spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying. But at this time, Chu Xiu had already appeared behind him. The red sleeve knife directly pierced through Lu Yuanhai's heart from the back. The martial artist who had escaped death stared dumbfoundedly at the handsome young man beside him. He was actually a Xian realm martial artist. Chu Xiu pulled the red sleeve knife out of Lu Yuanhai's corpse. Looking at the young man holding the halberd, who was so handsome that even women would be jealous, he suddenly felt that the other person was somewhat familiar. "Thank you for your help." Chu Xiu bowed to the person. The young man smiled and said, "No need to thank me. With your strength, without me, he wouldn't have been able to escape. I was just disdainful that this person didn't dare to fight to the death with you, but dared to be so arrogant to the bystanders. Right, why did they want to kill you?" Chu Xiu sheathed his knife and said casually, "I killed the entire family of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect warrior. Now, he naturally wants to kill me. It's that simple." A strange look appeared in the young man's eyes. Killing in the martial world, or even the annihilation of an entire family, was very common. But when a normal person was asked about this, they would definitely explain how much hatred they had with the person, and how they were forced to kill and so on. But this person in front of him played it down and said that he had killed his entire family. He was so frank and natural. This was the first time he had seen such a person. At this time, Chu Xiu saw that the innkeeper was still hiding in the crowd. Looking at the destroyed inn, he wanted to cry but had no tears. Chu Xiu threw an ingot of silver to the innkeeper and said, "You destroyed your inn, put the silver on me. That's right, send some good dishes to my room tonight. After a battle, I need to replenish my energy." Holding the silver in his hand, the innkeeper really wanted to cry this time. "You still want to stay here?" If this happened a few more times, his inn would not just be destroyed, but torn down. But he did not dare to refuse. He had seen many people of the martial world, but it was the first time the innkeeper had seen someone as vicious as Chu Xiu, someone who killed so decisively. The young man on the other side looked at Chu Xiu with interest. Ever since he stepped into Jianghu, he had seen many people. There were good people and evil people, but most of them were hypocrites and despicable people who wandered between good and evil. If you said this person was evil, he could say that he had killed someone's entire family without batting an eyelid. Just now he had been vicious. But just now, he could still think of the innkeeper, an ordinary person's loss. Even some martial artists who had been famous for a long time would unconsciously look down on ordinary people. The young man cupped his hands and said to Chu Xiu, "I am Lu Fengxian of Yuyang, Yanxi. Of course, I am not the Fengxian of the ancient devil Marquis Lv1 Ho, but Fengxian of the Impatiens." After hearing the young man's self-introduction, Chu Xiu's eyes suddenly shrank. He finally realized who the other party was. Suppressing the shock in his heart, Chu Xiu also cupped his hands and said, "I am Chu Xiu, the Xiu that means everything is over." Lu Fengxian held his long halberd and said with a smile, "Brother Chu, I still have to go to Luyang Mountain to join in the fun. Let's talk again when we have time." After saying that, Lu Fengxian directly left. Chu Xiu looked at his back, but it was unknown what he was thinking. In the year after transmigrating and being reborn, Chu Xiu had seen many people, but there was not one that could be called an important person in the original plot. A name that could be remembered by Chu Xiu must be an important person that could stir the world in the original plot, and even push the entire history of the martial world forward. For example, Zhang Bai Tao, who he had just killed, was an inner sect disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. He came from the 7 sects and 8 schools, and could be considered a young hero of the righteous martial world. If Chu Xiu had not interfered, and according to the normal plot, the other would most likely have become a supervisor or an elder of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. He would have been a person in the higher ranks of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. In the Ba Mountain Sword sect, he was a person, but in the entire martial world, he was not enough. But this Lu Fengxian, who was so handsome that even women could not help but be jealous, was a hero that could influence the entire martial world in the original plot. Lu Fengxian's name was very interesting. It was the same sound as an ancient legendary expert, Marquis LV1 Ho, who was revered as the demon god. Because his name was Fengxian, it was a bit feminine. However, LV Fengxian had never avoided this point. He had even told others that because his parents were illiterate, they saw impatience blooming when they went out to give birth to him, so they named him LV Fengxian. Lu Fengxian did not come from a large sect. His martial arts were learned from a disabled old soldier from the northern Yan military in the village when he was young. It was not profound, but he walked the path of extreme killing. After wandering the Jianghu, LV Fengxian gained some fame in a few counties in the west of Yan. However, it was not because of his martial arts, but because of his loyalty and gentleness. He made friends with many people in the Jianghu, and some people even gave him the nickname Little Marquis One. Of course, this nickname was mostly a mockery of his name. But no one had expected that a decade later, Lu Fengxian would receive the supreme cultivation methods of the ancient demon god Marquis LV1 Ho, the 9 heavens fiend golden body, and the demon god peerless halberd. He became the famous heir of the demon god, Jade Face Marquis 1 Ho Lu Fengxian. But from then on, Lu Fengxian always wore a hideous demon god mask, and rarely showed his true appearance. Chapter 62. Chu Xiu didn't expect that he would meet Lu Fengxian, the famous Jianghu, jade-faced marquis in the future, on this trip to Luyang Mountain. In Chu Xiu's memory, Lu Fengxian didn't appear in the treasure hunt at Luyang Mountain. Of course, it was possible that he did, but Lu Fengxian was just a nobody in the Jianghu at that time. He didn't even get on the Longhu list, nor did he shine in the treasure hunt, so there was no record of him in the plot. The evaluation of Lu Fengxian in the future was very interesting, because there were as many people who scolded and praised him in the Jianghu. Lu Fengxian was definitely not a person of the righteous Tao. In order to seek revenge, he had chased his enemies for thousands of miles in anger. Countless people of the righteous Tao interceded and intercepted him, but they either got lost or were killed by him one by one. From this point, it could be seen that Lu Fengxian was definitely a person of the diabolism with an extreme character. Even among his friends, there were many who came from the diabolism. Later on, he also practiced the diabolism skills, so most people considered him to be on the side of the diabolism. But if you said that he was a person of the diabolism, Lu Fengxian had never killed innocent people. On the contrary, as long as there was something he couldn't stand, he would attack regardless of whether the other party was from the righteous Tao or the diabolism. Moreover, the reason why he killed people was very simple. If he felt that they deserved to be killed, then they deserved to be killed. Just like Lu Yuanhai just now, if Lu Yuanhai hadn't slashed with his saber, Lu Fengxian wouldn't have stopped him. He would have just silently dodged. But Lu Yuanhai just had to slash with his saber, which made Lu Fengxian feel that he was a person who bullied the weak and feared the strong. He was very annoying, so he took action. Moreover, Lu Fengxian had many friends in the Jianghu. Although he wasn't very righteous and had friends all over the world, as long as they were his friends, Lu Fengxian would definitely help them to the end, so no one could say a bad word about him. Of course, it was not only his friends who praised Lu Fengxian in Jianghu. There were also some young ladies from aristocratic families and female disciples from large sections. Even though looks were considered as an embroidered pillow in the Jianghu, people like Lu Fengxian, who had both looks and strength, were extremely attractive to women, aside from the fact that he did not have a powerful sect behind him. These were just other people's evaluations of Lu Fengxian, but if Chu Xiu were to evaluate Lu Fengxian, Chu Xiu could only say that he was a very self-centered person. In Lu Fengxian's heart, there was no such thing as good or evil. If he felt that this was the right thing to do, then he would do it. If you become his friend, he will come to help you. If you provoke him, he will definitely not show mercy when he kills you. In any case, for Chu Xiu, there was absolutely no harm in making friends with someone like LV Fengxian. The corpses in the inn were all cleared out. Chu Xiu went through the pockets of the people in front of everyone. Other than Zhang Baitao, who had some precious medicine produced by the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, the other three had nothing of value. But thinking about it, it was reasonable. After all, they did not have a secret space box like Chu Xiu, who would put all his possessions in it. Taking away the bottles of medicine, Chu Xiu went upstairs and prepared to return to his room to heal. But at this time, Chu Xiu seemed to think of something. Just now, Zhang Baitao seemed to have said something. It seemed that these people had come to help him kill him because of that young master. Previously, Chu Xiu had been wondering how Zhang Baitao had found these three people to work together to kill him. Zhang Baitao was a disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect and did not have any connections in the northern Yan. While the Ba Mountain Sword Sect was one of the 7 sects and 8 schools, the 7 sects and 8 schools were not the Buddhist sects of the north and south. They only had a certain amount of local power. Outside of their respective regions, it was the same thing. It all depended on whether the other party gave them face. So the Azure Water Sword Sect only put out a wanted order for Chu Xiu in the Wei Commandery. Because they also knew that outside of the Wei Commandery, even if someone saw Chu Xiu, they would not bother to tell them, unless they offered a sufficiently tempting reward. Now it seemed that Zhang Baitao had asked the young master for help, and the young master took the lead to have 3 Khanate martial artists help Zhang Baitao kill him. As for who this young master was, it was not hard to guess. In a place like the northern Yan, who had this kind of face and could make a disciple from a large sect like Zhang Baitao address him as young master, other than the young master of the mortuary manor, Ling Yun Bu Yu Nie Dong Lu, who else could it be? Thinking of this, Chu Xiu laughed coldly. That young master Nie Dong Lu was also very active in the Jianghu later on. His father, Flip Heaven and Earth, Nie Ren Long, managed the mortuary manor into one of the 6 gangs. And Nie Dong Lu had long been famous in the Jianghu, ranked 6th on the Longhu leaderboard. The 3 people who came to kill him were not from the mortuary manor, but they had some dealings with the mortuary manor. Nie Dong Lu clearly felt that Zhang Baitao's status was not high enough for him to send people from the mortuary manor. Or in other words, with Chu Xiu's current strength and status, he was not high enough for Nie Dong Lu to send people from the mortuary manor to kill him. Although Chu Xiu did not die this time, the grudge had been formed. Moreover, if there were no accidents, Nie Dong Lu would also come to fight for the treasure in Liuyang Mountain. At that time, regardless of whether there was a grudge between the two, when it came to the real fight for the treasure, there would definitely be a battle. The next morning, Chu Xiu left the inn early and went to a small restaurant in Liuyang Town to eat. In a small place like Liuyang Town, the food and wine in the inn were a little bad, so Chu Xiu wanted to change his taste. As soon as he entered the tavern, he saw that Lu Fengxian had already ordered a table full of dishes and was eating. Beside him was his very conspicuous silver halberd. Lu Fengxian was somewhat famous in Yanxi. However, Linzhong County was located in the east of Yan Kingdom, so most warriors here did not know Lu Fengxian. However, yesterday, Lu Fengxian smashed Lu Yuanhai's weapon with his halberd, revealing his innate realm cultivation. This also let the warriors from Liuyang Town know that he was also a young expert and could not be provoked. Seeing Chu Xiu walk in, Lu Fengxian quickly said, "Brother Chu, sit down and eat together." Chu Xiu did not stand on ceremony. He directly sat opposite Lu Fengxian, poured a cup of wine and asked, "Brother Lu, yesterday you went to Liuyang Mountain. Did you gain anything?" Lu Fengxian shook his head with a wry smile and said, "Nothing. I even suspect that these things are rumors, but it doesn't matter if they are rumors. I was originally prepared to travel in Jianghu, so it doesn't matter where I go." Chu Xiu said lightly, "Brother Lu, don't worry. Let's not talk about whether there is a treasure in Liuyang Mountain or not. Even if there is a treasure, the first people to hear the movement and come are those from the big sections. Now look at Liuyang Mountain. How many people are from the big sects? So you don't have to worry. When those people from the big sects also come to Liuyang Mountain, then it can prove that there is really a treasure in Liuyang Mountain." Lu Fengxian nodded and said, "That's true." After that, the two of them chatted about all sorts of things. From Lv Fengxian's point of view, Chu Xiu's character was more in line with his character, apart from being a little extreme in certain areas and having a strong killing intent. Before he stepped into Jianghu, his master told him that if he wanted to live well in this Jianghu, he had to make more friends and fewer enemies. When he could make all the people in Jianghu be his friends and no enemies, then he would be really successful in Jianghu. Lu Fengxian listened to his master more than his parents, so he had made a lot of friends since he stepped into Jianghu. But at the same time, although he was gentle and easy to talk to, his temper was also stubborn. He didn't know how to compromise and didn't care about other people's opinions. So in the past few years, he had made a lot of friends in West Yen, but he had also offended a lot of people, maybe even more. At this moment, a young martial artist in green suddenly stumbled in. Seeing that Lu Fengxian was here, he ran over and knelt on one knee in front of Lu Fengxian. He said with a sobbing tone, "Big brother Lu, I beg you to save my Chen family." Lu Fengxian quickly helped him up and said in surprise, "Qin Tong, aren't you traveling outside? Why are you here? What happened to the Chen family?" Although Lu Fengxian had only stepped into Jianghu for a few years, he had many friends. Chen Tong was one of them, and it just so happened that his family was in Linzhong Commandery. Of course, Chen Tong wasn't as strong as him. He was only in the blood condensation realm. Chu Xiu frowned slightly as he looked at Chen Tong. He felt that his crying was a bit fake. In his previous life, Chu Xiu hadn't been trash, but he had pretended to be a hedonistic young master in his family for over 20 years. In the end, he had pretended to be a bit convinced. In terms of acting skills, Chu Xiu felt that if he had acted in a movie in his previous life, it would have been possible for him to win the Best Actor award. So while Lu Fengxian didn't feel anything, Chu Xiu felt that Chen Tong was just putting on an act. Chapter 63. Lu Fengxian helped Chen Tong up and let him sit down. Then he asked, "What happened to your Chen clan?" "Don't worry, I won't refuse if I can help you." Chen Tong quickly said, "It's like this. Our Chen clan bought a batch of secret boxes some time ago. They were all substandard products with unknown origins. We didn't expect to find anything good in them. They were supposed to be used as a gift for my father's 60th birthday. But who would have thought that there was a 6th Revolution Spirit Herb Purple Leaf Dogwood in that batch of secret boxes? Moreover, it was spread by the servants of our Chen clan. After this matter was spread out, several major forces around Cold River Prefecture, including Three Mountains Sect, Black Tiger Gang, and Yu Clan all wanted to snatch it. If it weren't for these three forces being wary of each other, I'm afraid our Chen clan would have been finished long ago." When Lu Fengxian heard this, he directly held the silver halberd next to him and said in a deep voice, "Don't worry. I can't kill all the people from these three forces, but I'm confident that I can protect your Chen clan from them." As he said this, Lu Fengxian was about to get up, but Chen Tong quickly held him down and said, "Elder brother Lu, each of those three forces has more than one Xiantian expert. We can't fight them head-on. I came to ask Elder brother Lu for help. I heard that Nye Dong Lu, the young master of that place, is extremely righteous. So, I want Elder brother Lu to help us invite young master Nye Dong Lu. As long as he says the word, this matter should be solved." LV Fengxian didn't think too much and was about to agree when Chu Xiu suddenly frowned when he heard Nye Dong Liu's name. He pressed down on LV Fengxian's arm and suddenly asked, "Brother, since you want to invite Nye Dong Lu from the Moribund Manor, why don't you go yourself? Why do you need to trouble Elder brother Lu?" Seeing that Chu Xiu suddenly interrupted, Chen Tong was also a little displeased. However, Chu Xiu was a Xiantian expert, while he was only at the blood condensation realm. Furthermore, it seemed Chu Xiu was also Lu Fengxian's friend, so he could only say, "My Chen family is only a small family. Although my father is a Xiantian expert, those three families want the violet dogwood, so they definitely won't let my father leave. Even when I left this time, I had to use the excuse of going to the other prefectures to collect debts. Only after being searched by the people of the three clans did they allow me to leave the Cold River Prefecture. Therefore, my Chen clan has actually been placed under house arrest by the three clans. Not even a single servant can leave the Cold River Prefecture easily. But with my meager strength and reputation, I'm afraid I won't even be able to meet young Master Nye Dong Lu. But Big Brother Lu is different. Who doesn't know the name Young Marquis One in the west of Yen?" Big Brother Lu reached the Xiantian realm at such a young age. I heard that young Master Nye Dong Lu likes to make friends with the young geniuses of Jianghu the most. If Big Brother Lu wants to meet him, he will definitely meet him. Chu Xiu secretly sneered and gave Lu Fengxian a look, indicating that he should temporarily not agree. Lu Fengxian didn't know what Chu Xiu's intentions were, but although he had only known Chu Xiu for 2 days, He knew that Chu Xiu wasn't a person who would do nothing for no reason. There must be a deeper meaning behind his actions. Therefore, Lu Fengxian said to Chen Tong, "Brother Chen, since those 3 clans won't make a move for the time being, you can stay here for a day. I still have some matters to take care of in Luyang town. Once I'm done, I'll immediately go help you." When Lu Fengxian said so, Chen Tong could only nod and agree. After all, he was asking for help. No matter how good Lu Fengxian's temper was, he couldn't force Lu Fengxian. After Chen Tong left, Lu Fengxian pulled Chu Xiu to a corner and asked, "Brother Chu, why did you stop me just now?" Chu Xiu narrowed his eyes and said, "Is Chen Tong your friend? But I think there's something wrong with Chen Tong. You treat him as a friend, but he doesn't treat you as a friend." Lu Fengxian was puzzled and asked, "Why do you say so?" Chu Xiu said faintly, "It's very simple. Those 3 clans just want the treasure. A man's wealth is his own ruin. Chen Tong just handed over the treasure directly. He doesn't have the strength, but he wants to keep the treasure and drag you, his friend, down with him. Has he ever considered you as a friend? Also, he insisted that you go to the Morgue Manor to help. Even if the people of the Morgue Manor will help in the end, you should know that he will benefit in the end. But the one who owes the Morgue Manor a favor is you, Brother Lu." Seeing Chen Tong just now, Chu Xiu remembered something. It seemed that in the original plot, Nie Donglu and Lu Fengxian were also good friends, and they had a good relationship. But in the end, Nie Donglu cheated Lu Fengxian. In the original plot, Lu Fengxian helped Nie Donglu get the secret treasure left by the Kunlun devil cult. 1,000 years ago, the Kunlun devil cult's demonic flames were monstrous and suppressed the world. If it weren't for the #1 person in Taoism, immortal Ning Xuanji, the sect master of the true martial arts sect, fighting with Duge Weiwei, the Jianghu would still be shrouded in this monstrous demonic power at this time. Therefore, people in Jianghu could tolerate the diabolism, but they were extremely sensitive to the words, Kunlun devil cult. Even if Nie Donglu was the young master of the Morgue Manor, if he got the secret treasure of the Kunlun devil cult, unless he handed it over, he would still be attacked by others. In the end, Nie Donglu used Lu Fengxian and made him bear the crime. In the end, Lu Fengxian was chased by the righteous martial arts world for several years, suffering in silence. But it was also because of that time that Lu Fengxian got the inheritance of the devil god Lv1 Ho while being chased, and became famous in Jianghu. He didn't know if Nie Donglu regretted the decision he made back then, pushing away a future strong person who was on his side with his own hands. Thinking about what happened today, Chu Xiu more or less knew what had happened. Lu Fengxian and Nie Donglu probably got to know each other because of this. Lu Fengxian went to Nie Donglu for help, and as the young master of the Morgue Manor, Nie Donglu naturally wouldn't refuse such a simple request. But at that time, Nie Donglu probably didn't care much about Lu Fengxian, because Lu Fengxian was only in the innate realm. Although she was young, it wasn't unusual. And with Lu Fengxian's personality, if Nie Donglu helped him, he would definitely help Nie Donglu. That was why he was willing to take the blame for Nie Donglu later on. Even when he was being chased, he didn't give up on Nie Donglu. Of course, Lu Fengxian wasn't an idiot. After that incident, the two of them went their separate ways. Lu Fengxian's personality was like this. He was too trusting of others, and only learned his lesson after suffering once. Unfortunately, he narrowly escaped death every time, so he was lucky. Since Nie Donglu intervened in the feud between him and Zhang Baitao, Chu Xiu didn't mind poaching him now, so that they wouldn't have the chance to stand on the same side anymore. As for whether Lu Fengxian would miss out on Marquis Lu's inheritance because of this, Chu Xiu wasn't worried. Marquis Lu's inheritance was simply prepared for Lu Fengxian. In the entire Jianghu, except for Lu Fengxian, it was almost impossible for anyone else to get it. If this incident really affected Lu Fengxian, then Chu Xiu only needed to tell Lu Fengxian a location, and the inheritance would definitely fall into Lu Fengxian's hands. On the other side, Lu Fengxian was also a little hesitant about what Chu Xiu said. Although Chu Xiu's words made sense, Lu Fengxian still didn't want to think badly of his friend. He said hesitantly, "After all, he opened the treasure himself. It is normal that he doesn't want to hand it over. Also, it is just a favor. I can afford to owe him." Chu Xiu sneered. "Brother Lu, you think too simply. It is not so easy to owe favors from the Morgue village. Do you know why the Ba Mountain Sword Sect disciples were able to find 3 people to kill me in the northern Yen? It was because the young master of the Morgue village was the middleman. You owe the Morgue village a favor. In the future, if the young master wants you to return the favor, but he asks you to do something you don't want to do, will you return it or not? Lu Fengxian frowned. His personality was like this. He would repay kindness with kindness and enmity with enmity. It was impossible for other people to threaten him, but if they used favors to bind him, he couldn't refuse. Also, Lu Fengxian really hadn't thought that the reputable young master of the Morgue village would do something like pimping. Even if Nie Donglu personally helped Zhang Baitao get revenge, he would think highly of Nie Donglu. But Lu Fengxian still felt conflicted. Chen Tong was his good friend. If he directly refused, it would not be good. Chu Xiu shook his head and said, "Brother Lu, I have not known you for long. Even if some things are not appropriate, I still have to say them. The so-called brotherhood in the Jianghu is mostly unreliable. The only things that can maintain the so-called brotherhood are power and profit. Because you are incarnate and have some fame in Yen Shi, that Chen Tong will come to ask you. Otherwise, if you are a nameless person, he may not even bother to make friends with you." Lu Fengxian felt that some of Chu Xiu's ideas were a bit too extreme. But he still smiled and said, "Brother Chu, are you telling me this because of profit?" Chu Xiu shook his head and said, "It's just a casual chat. It's because I have no profit relationship with you that I'm telling you this." However, at this moment, Chu Xiu suddenly changed the topic and said, "Brother Lu, if you want to handle this matter properly, why don't you leave it to me? You can also take the opportunity to see if that friend of yours is really asking you for help or using you." Hearing Chu Xiu's words, Lu Fengxian immediately became serious and said, "Brother Chu, you said before that you are not a nosy person, and you don't believe in the so-called brotherhood in the Jianghu. Why do you suddenly want to interfere in this matter?" The corner of Chu Xiu's mouth showed a trace of a smile and said, "The lie is that Brother Lu and I feel like old friends at first sight. I can't bear to see you being deceived by a villain, so I came to help you. As for the truth, the purple leaf dogwood is a 6th revolution spirit medicine. Even if it is not refined into a pill, its medicinal power is extremely amazing. If those small sects want it, I also want it. This time, I'll help you test the waters. If that Chen Tong doesn't have the intention to use you, then I'll have helped you in vain. If that Chen Tong really has such intentions, then we'll split the purple dogwood in half. No one will suffer a loss. What do you think?" Chapter 64. As for Chu Xiu's suggestion, Lu Fengxian thought for a while and finally agreed. At this time, Lu Fengxian was not the jade-faced marquis one who had experienced countless difficulties and finally obtained the inheritance of the devil god. Although he had been in Jianghu for several years and had seen the sinister people's hearts, he still believed in his own judgment of people. Unfortunately, the facts had proved that Lu Fengxian's judgment of people was really not good. "By the way, Brother Chu, what are you going to do?" Chu Xiu carefully told his plan to Lu Fengxian. After listening, Lu Fengxian hesitated and said, "Is it too cruel to do this?" Chu Xiu said in a deep voice, "Brother Lu, I'm different from you in the way of doing things. It seems cruel to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots, but it can avoid a lot of trouble. For example, why was I besieged this time? Wasn't it because I didn't completely eliminate the Zhang family? Of course, Zhang Baitao wasn't in the Zhang family at that time, so I couldn't do anything. But since there is a chance this time, I won't hold back. But in the end, if Chen Tong really wants to use you, then the Chen family will be handed over to you. I only want the things." Lu Fengxian thought for a while and directly nodded in agreement. He was not a soft-hearted person, but sometimes he was more gullible. This was his strength, but also his weakness. On the second day, Chen Tong came to find Lu Fengxian early in the morning and said anxiously, "Brother Lu, have you finished dealing with things here?" Before Lu Fengxian could speak, Chu Xiu walked over and patted him on the shoulder. With a seemingly forthright smile, he said, "Brother, don't worry. Brother Lu and I have already decided that we don't need to trouble the righteous manor with regards to your Chen family's matter. They may not have the time to manage such a small matter. Brother Lu and I will handle it. You came in a hurry yesterday and didn't introduce yourself. I am Chu Xiu, also a friend of Brother Lu." Chen Tong's facial expression changed slightly. He forced a smile and said, "Brother Chu, I think it's better to ask the Morgue Manor to take action. The three major forces have nearly 10 innate lords. They are not to be trifled with." Chu Xiu waved his hand casually and said, "So what? You are not an innate realm expert. You will know when you reach this realm. Even in the innate realm, your strength is not the same. The gap is huge." Lu Fengxian also nodded and said, "Brother Chu is right. In fact, I am confident if I am alone. But since Brother Chu is here, I am more confident." Hearing Lu Fengxian said so, Chen Tong was also very helpless. He could only say, "Then I will have to trouble you too." The Chen family was located in the Cold River Mansion of Linzhong County. It was not far from Liuyang Mountain. It was less than a day's journey. So when Lu Fengxian appeared yesterday, Chen Tong had already caught up. At this time, in the Cold River Mansion, the Chen family master, Chen Yuanji, and a group of Chen family elders and collateral disciples were anxiously waiting for Chen Tong's return. It was not uncommon for a treasure to be opened in the secret box but lead to a fatal disaster. Just as Chu Xiu guessed, the Chen family was not an idiot. The best way to solve this matter was to hand over the purple leaf dogwood. "I can't afford to offend all three of you. So, this thing will belong to whoever wins. I will not participate. I will suppress my greed and admit defeat. It's that simple." But with the treasure in hand, the Chen family was not willing to hand over a sixth revolution spiritual medicine. So in the end, Chen Yuanji thought of a countermeasure. The purple leaf dogwood could be given away, but not to the Black Tiger Gang and the other two forces. They had to give it to the righteous manor. If they gave it to the Black Tiger Gang and the other forces, they would not appreciate it. Instead, they would secretly ridicule the Chen family for not being able to keep the treasure. But if they could give it to the righteous manor, then as long as the Chen family had a little relationship with the righteous manor, it would be enough to benefit the Chen family a lot. So after knowing that Lu Fengxian appeared in Luyang town, he immediately sent Chen Tong to look for Lu Fengxian. He wanted to make use of Lu Fengxian's reputation to build a relationship with the righteous manor. Just as Chen Yuanji and the rest of the Chen family were anxiously waiting, a servant ran in and shouted, "Master! Young master is back with 2 Xiantian realm experts." Chen Yuanji was overjoyed when he heard this. If the young master could casually send 2 Xiantian realm experts, it must be the righteous manor. He immediately went out to greet them. When he saw Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian behind Chen Tong, he immediately showed a humble smile and said, "These two are the young talents of the righteous manor. This time, for a small matter of my Chen family, we have to trouble the righteous manor. I am really sorry. I will prepare a banquet to welcome you." A faint smile appeared on Chu Xiu's face and he said, "We really shouldn't trouble the righteous manor for such a small matter. So the two of us came." Chen Yuanji felt that something was wrong. Chen Tong smiled bitterly and said, "This is my good friend, young Marquis 1, Lu Fengxian. As for this is brother Lu's good friend, young master Chu Xiu." Hearing this, Chen Yuanji immediately frowned. He wanted to invite the righteous manor. Why did you invite them? Chen Yuanji cupped his hands towards Lu Fengxian and Chu Xiu and said, "My Chen family is very grateful that the two of you can come to help my Chen family. However, it is safer to invite the righteous manor in our current situation." Hearing this, Chu Xiu's expression immediately became gloomy. "Master Chen, what do you mean?" Chen Yuanji hurriedly said, "Young Master Chu, please listen." Chu Xiu directly waved his hand and interrupted Chen Yuanji's words. "I am not a young master, nor do I have the habit of being a young master. This time, your Chen family came to ask Brother Lu for help. I came to help your Chen family because of Brother Lu. But now you say that you want to invite the righteous manor. What do you mean? Are you looking down on us? Brother Lu is a friend of your son, so he can ignore this. But you and I are not related. I rushed to help, but your Chen family is not willing to help. Master Chen, don't blame me for speaking harshly. You are being shameless by doing this." Chu Xiu took a step forward. An extremely strong pressure came from his body, causing Chen Yuanji's expression to change. Everyone's aura came from their own strength and status. Last time in Luyang town, Chu Xiu had killed 4 Khanate realm warriors of the same level. Among them were even Ba Mountain Sword Sect inner sect disciples, the elites of the Jianghu. This also made Chu Xiu realize what level he was in the Jianghu now. So when facing a small family leader like Chen Yuanji, his aura could definitely suppress the other party. Chu Xiao directly stared at Chen Yuanji and said, Master Chen, since the two of us are already here, you do as you see fit. It is the first time I have seen someone come to help but ask for help. But I still have to remind you that my temper is not as good as Brother Lu's. Hearing Chu Xiao's vague threat, Chen Yuanji cursed in his heart. Cursing Chu Xiao was also cursing Chen Tong. They did not find the people from the morgue, but found such an unreasonable person who forced them to help. But now that they were here, even if the Chen clan wanted to go to the memorial hall, they had no way to find it. They could only accept this matter. However, if the two of them could really help the Chen clan protect the spiritual medicine, they would not suffer a loss. Chen Yuanji smiled bitterly and cupped his hands. In that case, I will trouble you two young heroes. Chu Xiao directly waved his hand and said, This matter is very simple. When I came, I already had a plan. Since the three families are afraid of each other and did not make a move, then we will help them break this balance. But we need something to break this balance. Master Chen, lend us your purple dogwood. Chen Yuanji's expression suddenly changed. Young hero Chu, what do you need this thing for? Chu Xiao faintly said, Without enough attraction, what can I use to break the balance of the three families? Is Master Chen worried that we will take the purple dogwood for ourselves? Even if Master Chen does not trust me, do you not trust Brother Lu behind me? Lu Fengxian did not speak. Before coming, he and Chu Xiao had discussed it. Everything would be decided by Chu Xiao. Now hearing Chu Xiao's words, Lu Fengxian also said, Master Chen, although I, Lu Fengxian, am not a good person, I know what to take and what not to take. If you don't believe me, you can ask Brother Chen whether I, Lu Fengxian, am worthy of his trust. Chen Yuanji hurriedly said, Of course this one did not mean that. After saying that, Chen Yuanji gave a look to the servant. After a while, the servant came over with a box. It was a secret box, but it was a very rare wooden box. Chen Yuanji did not give the secret box to Chu Xiao and Lu Fengxian, but directly handed it to Chen Tong and said, After all, this is my Chen family's matter. I can't just let you two young heroes take action. You also go and help. A faint smile appeared on Chu Xiao's face. Lu Fengxian was expressionless, but obviously, he was also a little uncomfortable at this time. Chen Yuanji's attitude clearly showed that he did not trust them, afraid that they would take the purple dogwood. Chapter 65. Chu Xiao looked at the box containing the purple dogwood and said, Teste, I have never seen a 6th revolution spirit herb before. I wonder if Patriarch Chen can show it to me? Chen Yuanji smiled awkwardly and said, It's not a problem to take a look, but the medicinal properties of this purple dogwood are a bit strange. When it is sealed, the medicinal properties will dissipate a lot every time it is opened. When we opened the box, the sealing formation was destroyed, so a part of the medicinal properties had dissipated. So we are trying to find someone to seal the purple dogwood again. Chu Xiao didn't insist, and he just revealed a mysterious smile. He turned to Chen Tong and said, Since those three clans are pressuring your Chen clan so tightly, then we shouldn't delay any longer. Let's just attack. Tell me about the strength and situation of those three clans. Chen Tong hurriedly said, Among the three forces, the Three Mountains sect has 3 innate experts. These 3 people were actually bandits of 3 mountains in the early years. After they were annihilated by the Northern Yan army, the 3 of them were lucky enough to escape. The Yu clan is slightly weaker, but the Yu clan's patriarch and his brother are both Xiantian experts. The strongest among the 3 clans should be the Black Tiger Gang. The leader of the Black Tiger Gang, Chao Dahai, is a peak Xiantian expert. The 2 Xiantian vice leaders are also in their prime. They have thousands of members and are the strongest force. Black Tiger Gang? Chu Xiao seemed to have seen this person before. He nodded and said, In that case, bring us to the Black Tiger Gang first. The Black Tiger Gang was also in the Cold River Mansion. When Chen Tong brought 2 people to the Black Tiger Gang, the gang leader Chao Dahai thought that the Chen clan had finally thought things through and was preparing to offer the treasures. He did not expect that Chen Tong would actually bring 2 Xiantian realm martial artists. Chao Dahai rubbed his bald head. His eyes revealed a cold expression as he said, What is the meaning of your Chen clan's actions? Do you think you can do whatever you want in the Cold River Prefecture just because you found two Xiantian experts? As soon as he finished speaking, the two vice leaders who were also Xiantian experts waved their hands. Immediately, a group of people rushed forward and surrounded the three people. Don't you recognize me, sect leader Chao? Chu Xiu stood up and said calmly. Chao Dahai carefully looked at Chu Xiu, and suddenly exclaimed, Chu Xiu! You are the Chu Xiu who destroyed the Zhang family. Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows and said, Oh? Has my reputation already spread that far? Chao Dahai took a deep look at Chu Xiu and didn't say anything. The Zhang family was just a small family in the Shanyang prefecture. They were quite far away from the Black Tiger gang, and they didn't have much contact with each other. Under normal circumstances, Chao Dahai didn't know about the Zhang family. However, ever since the Zhang family snatched the secret box from his hands during the last auction, Chao Dahai felt that something was amiss. The Zhang family was usually very stingy. They had never spent so much money at an auction. What was wrong with him this time? How could he be so generous? Therefore, ever since that time, Chao Dahai had been paying attention to the news of the Shanyang prefecture. He didn't expect that the news of the Shanyang prefecture being destroyed came right after, and the one who destroyed it was this Chu Xiu, the inconspicuous young man who stood behind Zhang Songling. Chao Dahai didn't care about the Zhang family. Zhang Songling was an old guard dog. The only thing he could do for so many years was to raise his son and send him to the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. This was also because the competition in the Shanyang prefecture was relatively small, and the major forces were in harmony. If it was in the Cold River prefecture, based on Zhang Baichen's conduct, the Zhang family would have been destroyed 8 times. Even so, the fact that Chu Xiu destroyed the Zhang family by himself was enough to make him feel wary. Of course, right now, Chao Dahai didn't know that Zhang Baitao and the others had also died at the hands of Chu Xiu. The entire Zhang family's direct line was completely dead. Otherwise, he would be even more wary. Chao Dahai waved his hand and had his subordinates put down their weapons. He looked coldly at Chu Xiu and said, I know you. You destroyed the Zhang family. But why are you here today? Do you want to stand up for the Chen family? Chu Xiu shook his head and said, I have no relationship with the Chen family, but this friend of mine is good friends with the Chen family, so he came to us for help. Chao Dahai sneered and said, Aren't you trying to stand up for the Chen family? No, the Chen family can't even protect the purple leaf dogwood. Why should I protect it for them? When Chen Tong heard this, he wanted to say something but was stopped by Lu Fengxian. Chu Xiu didn't care about him and said directly, An innocent man will get into trouble because of his wealth. If you have a treasure in your hands, you should either hand it over or protect it. Those who don't have the strength and are still stubbornly holding on are courting death. Those who don't know themselves are wise. So this time, I came to you to prepare to cooperate with you. You, me, and the Chen family. It's a win-win cooperation. When he heard Chu Xiu, Chao Dahai couldn't help but say, Tell me, how do you want to cooperate? Chu Xiu said lightly, It's very simple. Now that the 3 parties want the purple leaf dogwood, the Chen family can't keep it, so they decided to hand it over. But if the Chen family handed it over for nothing, it would be too much of a loss. So we want to cooperate with you to destroy the 3 Mountains sect and the Yu family. When the dust settles, the purple leaf dogwood will belong to you, and the 3 Mountains sect and the Yu family's property will belong to the Chen family. As for me and Brother Lu, the 2 of us only want the cultivation resources of these 2 families. Brother Lu and I are rogue cultivators, so we lack a lot of things. The purple leaf dogwood isn't a medicinal pill but a spiritual medicine. With our connections, it would be too difficult to find someone to refine it into a medicinal pill. Fortunately, we didn't need it in the end. We just want the medicinal pills and other cultivation resources of these 2 families. Chao Dahai touched his chin, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He said, It sounds good, but why should I cooperate with you? With the strength of my Black Tiger gang, even if we don't cooperate with you, we have the highest chance of getting the secret box. Chu Xiu stretched out his hand, condensing his heaven-piercing, baleful qi inner strength into one of his fingers. He lightly drew a circle on the pillar of the Black Tiger gang's lobby. With a kacha sound, the stone pillar, which would require a person's arms to encircle it, directly tilted and collapsed. The place that Chu Xiu drew was even more neat than a knife's cut. Chu Xiu said lightly, Of course, with our strength. If we help you, you can smoothly deal with those two families. If you don't cooperate with us, then we can go find the Three Mountains sect or the Yu family. With my and brother Lu's strength, no matter who we help, their chances of winning will skyrocket. I don't know if this explanation is enough. Moreover, this time both of us came with sincerity. The purple leaf dogwood is in Chen Tong's hands. Looking at the neatly broken stone pillar, Chao Dahai's expression slightly changed. With his strength, it was not difficult for him to shatter the stone pillar with a single punch. However, it was the first time he had seen someone like Chu Xiao, who had gathered his strength together and forcefully broken the stone pillar. If such a powerful and sharp inner strength hit a person's body, even if Chu Xiao didn't use a knife, he would be able to forcibly cut open the person's stomach. Looking at the secret box, then looking at the stone pillar, Chao Dahai's expression immediately changed. He laughed and said, "Brother Chu, don't mind me, I was just saying. How do you want to deal with those two families, Brother Chu? Just say it." This Chu Xiao was able to destroy the Zhang family. Obviously, he wasn't a good person. In all fairness, Chao Dahai didn't want outsiders to participate in this matter. What Chao Dahai was really afraid of was Chu Xiao's threat to cooperate with the other families. The strongest Black Tiger gang could refuse Chu Xiao, but the weakest of the three families, the Yu family, definitely wouldn't refuse. If this Chu Xiao really cooperated with the Yu family, then the Black Tiger gang would be the unlucky ones. Chu Xiao said indifferently, "The Black Tiger gang in our side, excluding the Chen family's master, have 5 Xiantian masters. Our strength can definitely suppress the other side. To shoot a man, first shoot the horse. To capture the bandits, first capture the leader. Tomorrow, I will ask the Chen family's master to release a message to summon the Tri-Mountain sect leader and the 2 Xiantian masters from the Yu family to the Chen family. When that time comes, I will make the first move. Chief Chao, you will lead your men to attack from the back. If there are no accidents, those 5 people will definitely die. When that time comes, with the strength of the Black Tiger gang, it shouldn't be difficult to eradicate the remnants of those 2 families." Chao Dahai clapped his hands and said, "No problem. We will do as Brother Chu said." Chu Xiao cupped his hands and said, "In that case, Chief Chao, let's have a pleasant cooperation." Chao Dahai also grinned and cupped his hands and said, "Let's have a pleasant cooperation." After that, Chu Xiao didn't stay any longer. He immediately left with Lu Fengxian and Chen Tong. After leaving the Black Tiger gang, Chen Tong couldn't help but ask, "Brother Chu, didn't you say that you wanted to deal with those 3 families? Why are you working with the Black Tiger gang now?" Chu Xiao glanced at him and said lightly, "I lied to him. How could you believe that? After dealing with those 2 families, we will deal with the Black Tiger gang. Brother Lu, your father, and I will work together. Do you think we can't defeat those 3 people from the Black Tiger gang?" Chen Tong nodded in understanding, but LV Fengxian beside him shook her head secretly. From the beginning until now, Chu Xiao hadn't said a word of truth. Of course, Lu Fengxian only hoped that the Chen family wouldn't lie to her in the end. Otherwise, no one would want to see the consequences. At this time in the Black Tiger gang, one of the deputy leaders asked Chao Dahai, "Chief, are you really going to work with Chu Xiao? Is this person really reliable?" Chao Dahai touched his bald head and snorted coldly, "Reliable my ass. I just said it and you believed it. Temporarily stabilize him so that he doesn't cooperate with the Yu family or the Three Mountains sect. You should have heard of the Zhang family of the Shanyang prefecture. Their eldest son joined the Ba Mountain sword sect of West Chu. That Zhang family was destroyed by Chu Xiao. Previously at the auction, this Chu Xiao pretended to be a disciple of the Zhang family and had Zhang Songling come forward to snatch a secret box from me. In the blink of an eye, the Zhang family was destroyed by this kid. This kid has a criminal record. We have to be careful." Chapter 66. Chao Dahai looked like a brute and brainless, a typical Jianghu person. But in fact, his mind was much more meticulous than most people. After the auction at Shanyang Prefecture, he felt that something was wrong with the Zhang family. That was why he sent people to Shanyang Prefecture to investigate, and found out that the Zhang family was destroyed by Chu Xiao. Moreover, if he was really brainless, the Black Tiger gang had 3 innate experts, so he wouldn't be the gang leader. Then what should we do? one of the deputy gang leaders asked.
Chao Dahai snorted coldly and said, "See that pillar?
Chu Xiao is showing off to us. Although I'm not afraid of him, I really don't have any confidence against this kid. So this time, let's spend some money and find external help. I heard that old guy Su Chongyang was driven out by the giant spirit gang and recently returned to the Cold River Mansion. That old guy is a bit muddle-headed. How good would it be to be a local tyrant in the Cold River Mansion? He insisted on dissolving the gang he built and joined the giant spirit gang of the 6 gangs. But in just a short time, I heard that he participated in a gang fight in the giant spirit gang and was driven out after losing.
With his stubborn character, he was fine in the Cold River Mansion, but he dared to join the 6 gangs of the 6 gangs.
He was simply looking for trouble for himself. However, although this old guy is a bit muddle-headed, his strength is not to be underestimated.
When he was in the Cold River Mansion, he had already reached the inner invulnerability stage of the 5th level of the Imperial Qi realm.
After that, he joined the giant spirit gang. Although he didn't step into the physical invulnerability stage, he still learned many powerful martial arts techniques. Now, although Su Chongyang is old, his strength shouldn't have declined much. Ask him to help at the last moment. Even if Chu Xiao plays tricks, it will be useless. After giving some instructions to the gang members, Chao Dahai directly left the Black Tiger Gang and went to a manor outside the Cold River Mansion. Su Chongyang was a veteran of the Jianghu in the Cold River Mansion. When he was young, he was in the limelight and had a big gang under him. Unfortunately, when he was at his peak, he took the initiative to disband his gang and join the giant spirit gang of the 6 gangs of human harmony. He took the initiative to start from a small gang. If he was really able to rise to a good position in the giant spirit gang, then no one would say anything. But half a year ago, he suddenly returned to the Cold River Mansion. Only after everyone carefully inquired about it did they find out that this Su Chongyang had actually chosen the wrong side in a gang struggle and was driven out. Su Chongyang did not have much contact with the local Jianghu people after he returned to the Cold River Manor. Instead, he bought a manor outside the Cold River Manor and retired there peacefully. It was unknown whether it was because of his old age or because he was disheartened by this matter. When Chao Dahai arrived at Su Chongyang's manor, he saw Su Chongyang practicing his fists against a few metal poles. Chao Dahai walked over with a smile and cupped his hands. "I haven't seen you for more than 10 years, Senior Su is still as elegant as ever." Su Chongyang was less than 60 years old this year, so he wasn't too old.
He snorted coldly and said, "Still as elegant as ever?
I'm afraid you're all laughing at I for not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. Back then, I insisted on joining the giant spirit gang, but now I've been driven back." Chao Dahai hurriedly smiled apologetically. "Others may think that, but don't you know my character? Those who laugh at you are just jealous people. If they wanted to join the giant spirit gang, I reckon that the giant spirit gang wouldn't even bother to accept them." Hearing Chao Dahai's compliment, Su Chongyang's expression became a little better.
He invited Chao Dahai to the guest room and had someone bring a cup of tea before saying, "This old man has already decided to retire from the Jianghu, so why did you come to find me?"
Chao Dahai cupped his hands and said, "Originally, I didn't want to ask Senior Su for help, but my Black Tiger Gang has encountered some trouble and would like to ask Senior Su to help kill a person." Su Chongyang's face revealed a trace of hesitation. His retirement from the Jianghu was not a joke, but ever since he was driven out by the giant spirit gang, he was indeed a little disheartened. At the same time, he also lacked energy. Otherwise, even if he was old, with his inner aura realm strength, it wouldn't be a problem for him to establish a force around the Cold River Mansion. Seeing Su Chongyang's hesitation, Chao Dahai said with a smile, "Senior Su, please rest assured. This time, I only asked you to deal with a Xiantian realm martial artist. How could there be any experts in the Cold River Mansion? Moreover, after this matter is completed, I still have 1,000,000 taels of silver and 10 500-year-old ginseng shipped from Liaodong. I will definitely not let Senior Su suffer a loss." Hearing this, Su Chongyang's heart suddenly moved. Even if he was driven out by the giant spirit gang, he still had some wealth. However, since he had decided to retire from the Jianghu, he could only spend and not take in. The temptation of 1,000,000 taels of silver was not small for him, especially the 500-year-old ginseng, which could slow down the decline of qi and blood. For a martial artist like him who was no longer at the peak of qi and blood, and was about to age, it was more attractive than 1,000,000 taels of silver. Su Chongyang only thought for a moment and said, "All right, I agree to this matter." Chao Dahai said a few more words of flattery, but in fact, he was sneering in his heart. This senior Su did not seem to have made any progress in the giant spirit gang these years. The way he did things was still so rash. Chao Dahai did not inquire about the other party's strength and background. Perhaps in his eyes, as long as it was a Xiantian realm existence, then he could deal with it. However, this time, Chao Dahai really did not trick him. He only invited Su Chongyang to prevent Chu Xiu from cheating on him. Of course, if Chu Xiu did not plan to cheat on him, he would have the same plan. At noon the next day, Chen Yuanji directly invited the people from the Tri-Mountain sect and the Yu family to come over in the name of the Chen family. Chao Dahai also seemed to have just heard the news and also came to the Chen family. In the living room, the three men from the Tri-Mountain sect were all dressed in black robes. Ferocious auras radiated from their bodies. They were bandits to begin with. Even though they were no longer in the business of bandits, the killing intent they exuded was still very strong. One of the martial artists with a hooked nose was the Tri-Mountain sect leader, Qi Lindong. Seeing that Chen Yuanji still did not appear, he could not help but frown. What is the Chen family doing? Do they want to hand over the purple dogwood? Yu Chenghai, the Yu family's patriarch, said lightly. No matter what tricks they play, we will definitely get the purple dogwood this time. Chao Dahai and the two deputy leaders of the Black Tiger Gang sat to the side without saying anything. However, he looked at the people from the Yu family and the Tri-Mountain sect as if he was looking at a dead man. From now on, it was his Black Tiger Gang's turn to dominate the Cold River Prefecture. Just at that moment, someone walked out from the inner hall. However, it was not Chen Yuanji. The person in the lead was Chu Xiu. He placed the box containing the secret box on the table and sat in the main seat. Chen Yuanji and the others stood behind him. When the people from the Tri-Mountain sect and the Yu family saw Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian, their expressions changed slightly. Yu Chenghai directly snorted, "Chen Yuanji, what is the meaning of this?" Chu Xiu said lightly, "Everyone don't worry. Today's matter has nothing to do with Patriarch Chen. Is this what you want?" As he said that, Chu Xiu directly shook the secret box in his hand. Yu Chenghai felt that something was wrong. He frowned and said, "Who are you? What is the meaning of this?" Chu Xiu placed his hand on the red sleeve saber and said lightly, "Patriarch you don't need to know who I am. You only need to know that I am here today to send you on your way. That is enough." As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Xiu unsheathed the red sleeve saber in his hand. A crimson saber light shone brightly between heaven and earth. It was incomparably magnificent and also contained endless killing intent. Even Chao Dahai, who already knew of Chu Xiu's plan, did not react when he suddenly drew his saber. In his opinion, Chu Xiu should have calmed the other party down first and then waited for an opportunity to launch a surprise attack. However, the moment he appeared, Chu Xiu immediately drew his saber. What was going on? In fact, for the current Chu Xiu, since he killed Zhang Baitao and the other three, he was almost at the peak of the innate realm. Few martial artists of the same level could match him. Since he already had absolute confidence, what was the point of talking nonsense with this group of people? Just make a move and end the battle quickly. In the crimson saber light, the power of piercing the sun and moon suddenly erupted. A thick layer of bloody killing intent enveloped the edge of Chu Xiu's saber, giving his saber a trace of extremely cruel aura. It was not until the saber was about to reach his body that the biting chill and killing intent woke Yu Chenghai up. The chair under him was abruptly shattered by his internal strength. His figure quickly retreated. A short saber appeared in front of him. In a hurry, he slashed it horizontally, trying to stop Chu Xiu. However, how could Chu Xiu's saber be so easy to block? This saber was slashed out with the Azure Dragon in the sleeve saber technique, and then with the red sleeve saber technique in the dusk drizzle as the form. Finally, the powerful killing intent and killing intent of piercing the sun and moon were condensed into power and attached to the edge of the saber. It could be said that the power of this saber, whether it was speed, strength or momentum, had reached the extreme. It was incomparably terrifying. Chapter 67. When it came to explosive power, Chu Xiu, with his Azure Dragon sleeve and piercing sun and moon, was practically the best martial artist of his generation. Back at the inn, he was able to instantly kill Li Qingfeng in a sneak attack, not giving him a chance to retaliate. But now, he slashed out with his saber. Although it was not a sneak attack, Yu Chenghai was still unable to block it. In the blink of an eye, an ear-piercing clang resounded. Yu Chenghai's weapon had been broken by Chu Xiu's slash.
Although the power condensed from baleful qi and killing intent was not stellar energy and could be released at will, it was extremely sharp. In an instant, a huge bloody gash appeared on Yu Chenghai's chest. Amidst the endless blood splattering, Chu Xiu's left hand directly used the great sacrificial grappling hand, pulling Yu Chenghai's body that had been sent flying back to his side. No matter how Yu Chenghai struggled, it was futile. The saber slashed across, and a head fell to the ground. From the moment Chu Xiu drew his saber to the moment he killed, only a short moment had passed. But in this instant, a Xiantian realm martial artist had already lost his life. There was not even time for the people present to think carefully. In fact, at this time, everyone was in a daze. It should have been a good time for Chao Dahai to make his move, but he was also frightened by Chu Xiu, and actually forgot to launch a sneak attack. At this time, Chao Dahai was constantly rejoicing in his heart, rejoicing that he had been cautious enough to invite Su Chongyang to come out. Otherwise, if Chu Xiu wanted to take advantage of the situation, he would not be able to resist at all. Who would have thought that this Chu Xiu, who looked somewhat scholarly and weak, would be so fierce and ruthless? He was simply like a hungry wolf, every move filled with killing intent. At this time, the first to react was the other Yu family martial artist. He had just drawn a long sword and rushed towards Chu Xiu with an angry roar. But at this time, Lu Fengxian, who was standing to the side, suddenly moved. He brandished his halberd, and the crescent blade smashed down with a gloomy cold light. It was just a simple move that could split a mountain, but it had an unparalleled momentum. Lu Fengxian's countenance was exceedingly beautiful. It was already strange for him to wield such a heavy ancient halberd. And now, as he made his move, the monstrous strength he exuded caused people to feel a sense of incongruity. With a loud bang, the Yu family martial artist's weapon was directly smashed by Lu Fengxian's halberd. He was sent flying while vomiting blood, and fell to the ground. Although he did not die immediately, it looked like he was about to die. The long halberd in Lu Fengxian's hand sank several inches deep into the ground, and even the floor of the entire living room cracked. In terms of pure strength, the strength of his halberd might not even be comparable to that of an internal strength realm martial artist. In an instant, one of the two Yu family martial artists was dead, and the other was on the verge of death. This kind of strength was simply crushing. At this time, a cold light flashed in Chao Dahai's eyes. He held a tiger-headed golden saber that was forged from black gold, and directly slashed at Qi Lindong of Sanshan sect. The saber's momentum was extremely violent, and one could even faintly hear the sound of a tiger's roar exploding out. Black Tiger Saber Technique, Roaring Tiger Slash. Qi Lindong was also rich in combat experience, and he reacted immediately. In a panic, he raised the goose feather saber in his hand to block the attack, but he was forced to retreat step by step. Qi Lindong shouted angrily, "Chao Dahai! What the hell is the meaning of this?" Chao Dahai sneered and said, "What do I mean? Can't you see clearly now? Don't blame others for your own stupidity. I can't be bothered to explain it to you. Go down and be a confused ghost." As he said this, Chao Dahai directly waved his hand, and the other two martial artists also pressed forward, and directly started fighting. Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian were the first to breathe a sigh of relief. Both of them belonged to the category of martial artists with extremely strong explosive power. The extreme speed and strength of Chu Xiu's coiling dragon sleeve first saber was very shocking. The piercing the sun and the moon could also provide him with a strong explosive power, but when it came to the follow-up, it was not as amazing. The same was true for Lu Fengxian. His martial arts originated from the Northern Yan military, and it was not amazing. It was all about fighting and killing. What truly allowed Lu Fengxian to have such power was his innate divine strength. In addition, the martial arts of the army had a certain effect on refining the body. His halberd strike was even stronger than the splitting mountain axe. After the two of them finished resting, they joined the battle. Basically, in a few moves, the people of the Three Mountains sect were slaughtered. But at this time, the red sleeve saber in Chu Xiu's hand suddenly changed direction and slashed towards Chao Dahai. At almost the same time, Chao Dahai also slashed towards Chu Xiu. The two sabers collided. Without using the piercing the sun and the moon to condense explosive power, Chu Xiao and Chao Dahai were actually evenly matched. Both of them each took 3 steps back. Chao Dahai looked at Chu Xiao with a sinister smile. I knew you were not reliable. Not only did you kill those 2 families, but now you want to destroy my Black Tiger gang? Looking at the saber in Chao Dahai's hand, Chu Xiao said lightly, Don't tell me you don't have the idea of doing evil? Or do you have the confidence to defeat us? Forgive me for being blunt, even if Patriarch Chen does not make a move, the 3 of you are not a match for us. Chen Yuanji, who was standing at the back, almost laughed out loud. He did not expect the 2 people his son had invited to be so strong. Among the warriors of the same level, they were practically in a situation where they could sweep through. This time, not only did the purple dogwood survive, but the 3 major forces of the Cold River Prefecture were also destroyed. Their Chen family, which was originally at the bottom, was now the strongest. But at this time a voice suddenly sounded, Young man, you are really arrogant. The 3 of them are not a match for you. How about it be I instead? An old man in his 60s walked into the hall. With every step he took, the marble floor cracked. The seemingly light footsteps were like heavy hammers with great force. Su Chongyang. Chen Yuanji's expression suddenly changed. His voice trembled as he said, He is Su Chongyang, the former #1 expert of my Cold River Prefecture, with the cultivation of the qi-controlling inner aura realm. But ever since he was chased out by the giant spirit gang, he has been living in seclusion for half a year. How did he get involved with the Black Tiger gang now? Chao Dahai withdrew his saber and retreated. He said with a cold smile, Chu Xiao, you are not a person of this Cold River Prefecture. You do not have the qualifications to interfere in the matters here. You and that friend of yours have decent strength. Wouldn't it be a pity to die here? Now, I will give you a chance. Before I go back on my words, hand over the purple dogwood and leave the Cold River Prefecture. Actually, Chao Dahai's original plan was to do evil. He was not some kind person. However, after witnessing Chu Xiao and LV Fengxian's abilities, he felt a little uneasy. Even if Su Chongyang was around and could kill one of them, they would still have to hold off the other for the time being. If they were to really fight, even if it was 3 against 1, after seeing Chu Xiao and Lu Fengxian's invincible attitude, they didn't have any confidence in their hearts. Therefore it was best not to force them too hard, and just let them know the difficulty and retreat. Chu Xiao said indifferently, Leave the Cold River Prefecture? Gang leader Chao, there is something you may not know. What I, Chu Xiao, hate the most is people snatching things from my hands. You can't do it, and that old thing you found also can't do it. Hearing Chu Xiao's words, Chao Dahai's expression immediately darkened. Su Chongyang's expression was also very ugly. Although he was already over 60 years old, for a martial artist, this age only meant that his qi and blood had stopped improving. It was not too much of a decline. Chu Xiao calling him an old thing was simply an insult. Behind him, Chen Yuanji also felt somewhat uncomfortable. This purple dogwood clearly belonged to his Chen family. When did it become Chu Xiao's? Su Chongyang snorted coldly and said, Not knowing what's good for you. Nowadays, the juniors of the pugilistic world are just this arrogant. After learning martial arts for a few days and making a name for themselves in the pugilistic world, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth after being called young hero a few times. Today, I will let you know what is called reverence. As his voice fell, Su Chongyang directly rushed towards Chu Xiao. Every step he took had a shocking aura. The bricks under his feet shattered inch by inch. His hands formed into a fist seal, and his aura was incomparably steady. It was like a mountain crashing down. Giant Spirit Martial Manual 72 Styles. Mountain Quaking Fist. Su Chongyang himself was born in the pugilistic world. After joining the Giant Spirit Gang for more than 10 years, he had not been in vain. At the very least, he had learned some of the Giant Spirit Gang's martial arts. The Giant Spirit Gang's 72 styles of the Giant Spirit Martial Manual were also quite famous in the pugilistic world. With Su Chongyang's status in the Giant Spirit Gang, although it was impossible for him to be taught the first 36 styles, among the last 36 styles, with his strength of the 5th level of the Imperial Qi realm, he could still learn a few. This mountain-quaking fist's momentum was heavy. When the fist seal landed, it was like a heavy blow. If an ordinary Xiantian martial artist was hit by this fist seal, their body would immediately be smashed into pieces. It was incomparably violent and fierce. Chapter 68. Su Chongyang didn't use any weapons. When he was born in the wilderness, he used to use weapons. However, after joining the giant spirit gang, he realized that his hands were the best weapons. Just now, he had already seen that Chu Xiu's saber was very fast. However, he wouldn't die if he took Chu Xiu's saber, but Chu Xiu would definitely die if he took a punch from him. As the mountain-shaking fist came crashing down, the scarlet killing intent on the edge of Chu Xiu's saber suddenly exploded. He didn't dodge or evade, but directly slashed down with his saber. It was a completely head-on routine. Su Chongyang sneered. His left hand turned into a palm and directly slapped Chu Xiu's saber to the side. The huge force even numbed Chu Xiu's hand that was holding the saber, and the red sleeve saber almost fell out of his hand. The strong wind whistled, and Chu Xiu's figure flashed backward. Su Chongyang's right hand's mountain-shaking fist came crashing down, smashing onto the stone pillar in the hall behind him. The huge stone pillar actually exploded with a loud bang and completely shattered. At this time, Chao Dahai and the other two also blocked Lu Fengxian, and began to besiege Lu Fengxian. Lu Fengxian's halberd was powerful and heavy. In a one-on-one fight, even Chao Dahai could only dodge when facing him. But now that it was 3 against 1, they could temporarily restrain Lu Fengxian, so that he couldn't help Chu Xiu. Chen Tong, who was standing at the back, asked Chen Yuanji with some hesitation, "Father, should we go?" Chen Yuanji clenched his teeth, shook his head, and said in a low voice, "We can't go. That's an expert in the inner aura realm of the 5th level of the Qi controlling realm. How can we fight? Chu Xiu won't be able to hold on. Besides, it's useless even if we take the initiative to give in now. The experts of the 3 Mountains sect and the Yu clan are all dead. The Black Tiger Gang is the sole power in the Cold River Prefecture. How can they tolerate us? Right now, they're just starting to make their move. When Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian can't hold on any longer, the Black Tiger Gang won't have the energy to stop us. At that time, we'll take the opportunity to escape with the purple dogwood and offer it to them. This way, our Chen family will have a chance to survive." Chen Tong was just about to say that the purple dogwood was not with Chu Xiu when he saw Chen Yuanji give him a look. Chen Tong immediately understood what his father meant. At this moment, LV Fengxian had fallen into a bitter battle, and it was the same for Chu Xiu. Chu Xiu hadn't seen many martial artists of the 5th level of the Qi controlling realm. The ones that left the deepest impression on him were the 3 Dragon Riders Forbidden Army members. And this Su Chongyang in front of him, his battle prowess was even stronger than the 3 Dragon Riders Forbidden Army members. The 3 Dragon Riders Forbidden Army members had old injuries that had yet to recover. In terms of strength, they were a level lower than Su Chongyang. Moreover, as one of the 6 gangs, the Giant Spirit Gang's techniques might not be weaker than the Dragon Riders Forbidden Army members. The so-called realm was most directly related to the difference in strength. It wasn't that easy to make up for this gap. Su Chongyang's fists landed. Each punch was powerful and heavy. Chu Xiu could only temporarily dodge. The Azure Dragon Sleeve's extreme speed only had one chance. Chu Xiu didn't dare to use it now, or rather, it wasn't the right time to use it. Seeing that Chu Xiu could only dodge under his attacks, Su Chongyang couldn't help but reveal a hint of pride in his eyes. Previously, Chao Dahai had told him to be careful, that Chu Xiu wasn't weak, and so on. What a joke! A martial artist of Chao Dahai's level didn't even know how strong someone in the inner aura realm was. Why would he need to be careful? Although Chu Xiu's sword was indeed very fast, so fast that it surprised him, the innate stage was still the innate stage. The gap of a whole realm wasn't that easy to overcome. Just as Chu Xiu was forced into a corner by Su Chongyang, a sharp murderous intent suddenly exploded in his eyes. The continuous sword intent condensed into a line like a torrential rain. The murderous intent condensed and instantly lit up the blade, reflecting a crimson glow. At this moment, the powerful sword intent that resembled the Azure Dragon goes to sea slashed out. The powerful force exploded. By the time Su Chongyang reacted, the crimson glow of the sword was already in front of him. Feeling the strong murderous intent, Su Chongyang's hair stood on end and cold sweat slid down his face. In Chao Dahai's view, Su Chongyang was a bit brainless. In fact, he was indeed a bit reckless and arrogant. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been kicked out of the giant spirit gang and left the Jianghu in dismay. But after all, he was a martial artist who relied on himself to fight his way to the 5th level of Qi-controlling realm. When it came to actual combat experience, some things had already become instinct. When this could be said to be the strongest attack, Su Chongyang's fist intent suddenly changed from the mountain-shaking fist to the great hand of silk of the giant spirit 72 styles. His hands were like a spirit snake. In the blink of an eye, he hit Chu Xiu's blade with more than 10 palms. The true energy in his body completely condensed in his palms, completely defeating the power of piercing the sun and moon on the blade. But even so, at this time, his hands were stimulated by the murderous intent and were dripping with blood. There were countless small cuts on his hands. Chu Xiu hadn't reached the 5th level of Qi-controlling realm, so he couldn't condense Gang Qi. But the murderous intent condensed by piercing the sun and moon was in no way inferior to Gang Qi in terms of power. The great hand of silk had completely grasped Chu Xiu's red sleeve blade. Su Chongyang's eyes still had a touch of fear. If that blade had hit him, he was absolutely sure that he could have beheaded him. Boy, I underestimated you. But now you don't have any more moves, right? Go to hell. Before the voice died away, Su Chongyang directly grabbed the red sleeve blade in Chu Xiu's hand with one hand and punched with the mountain-shaking fist with the other, attacking Chu Xiu. If this punch landed, even if Chu Xiu didn't die, he would be seriously injured. But at this time, Chu Xiu made an unexpected move. He actually abandoned the blade and got close to him, grabbing him directly with both arms. Chu Xiu's amazing blade just now had left a deep impression on him. In his opinion, this Chu Xiu must be an expert who specialized in the way of the blade. Such a warrior's strength would definitely drop by 70% without a blade. Just like the sword cultivators of the 5 major sword sects, the sword in their hands was their life. Without the sword, they would lose their life. Su Chongyang didn't know that Chu Xiu would never bet his life on one point. To him, the blade was just a handy weapon. Without the blade, he could still kill people. Su Chongyang immediately threw away the red sleeve blade in his hand to defend, but his arm was already in Chu Xiu's hand. The great abandoned grappling hand was displayed. In an instant, Su Chongyang felt a strong force coming, which made his expression suddenly change. His great silk hand was also a kind of grappling hand, so he naturally knew the horror of Chu Xiu's grappling hand. Su Chongyang's left arm shook like a snake, trying to break free from Chu Xiu's grasp. His right hand directly punched at Chu Xiu, ready to force him to retreat. Su Chongyang was not an opponent who was weaker than Chu Xiu in the past. In the face of an existence at Su Chongyang's level, even if the great abandoned grappling hand could temporarily capture the opponent, Chu Xiu could not completely crush the opponent's muscles and bones. The grappling hand was originally a kind of martial art that could move 1,000 catties with 4 ounces of force, but if one wanted to move 1,000 catties, one had to at least have the strength of 1,000 catties to be able to move it with only 4 ounces of force. So in the current situation, Chu Xiu could not completely capture Su Chongyang, so he could only choose to retreat for the time being. But at this time, Chu Xiu's choice stunned him. Instead of dodging, Chu Xiu directly used the great abandoned grappling hand with all his strength. His arms were like coiling dragons as they strangled down. In an instant, Su Chongyang's arm was twisted into the shape of a fried dough twist. Su Chongyang let out a cry of pain as the force of the mountain-shaking fist landed on Chu Xiu's chest. Almost in an instant, he heard the sound of bones shattering as his internal organs were torn apart. This punch had already caused Chu Xiu to suffer heavy injuries. One's arm was crippled, and the other's internal organs were ruptured. No matter how one looked at it, it was Chu Xiu who was at a disadvantage. Although Chu Xiu could use the strength of the Xiantian realm to force an expert of the 5th level of Qi-controlling realm into such a state, in fact, the one who was at a disadvantage was Su Chongyang. But at this time, Chu Xiu's face turned red, and he let out a muffled groan. Enduring the pain, he concentrated the power of piercing the sun and moon on his face, and directly spat a mouthful of blood at Su Chongyang. That was the extravasated blood caused by the rupture of Chu Xiu's internal organs. Just now, he had forcibly held back from spitting it out. But at this time, under the powerful force of piercing the sun and moon, the extravasated blood was no longer fresh blood, but a blood arrow that was like a hidden weapon. No matter how Su Chongyang defended, he did not expect that Chu Xiu would actually use this move. The blood arrow hit his face, and immediately his eyes were smashed. Su Chongyang immediately let out a cry of pain, and his figure quickly retreated. At this time, Chu Xiu was like a maggot attached to a bone, sticking close to Su Chongyang's body. The power of piercing the sun and moon gathered in his 2 fingers, causing his 2 fingers to turn red like blood. This finger fell extremely quickly, and accurately pierced into Su Chongyang's throat. A sound of bones breaking was heard, and what broke was Su Chongyang's throat, which was also Chu Xiu's finger bone. But Chu Xiu did not seem to notice, and with 2 fingers, he forcibly tore his opponent's throat. In an instant, blood splattered, spraying all over Chu Xiu's body, making him look incomparably terrifying. But Su Chongyang's figure crashed to the ground. Chapter 69. There had been cases of innate realm martial artists killing inner aura realm martial artists, and it was not rare in Jianghu. Chu Xiu had even seen those 3 Dragon Riders Imperial Army martial artists die at the hands of Chu Zongguang and Shen Mo, even though they were inner aura realm martial artists. However, this kind of killing was done by relying on external trump cards. For Chu Xiu to kill an expert in the inner aura realm face to face, this kind of situation still made everyone feel that it was inconceivable. The most shocked were Cao Dahai and the other 2. They never thought that they would be killed by Chu Xiu after finding an expert in the inner aura realm. They were shocked in their hearts, but as their opponent, Lu Fengxian, was still incomparably calm. In the split second that Cao Dahai was distracted, the heavenly halberd in his hand was like a ferocious dragon, bringing with it an unstoppable momentum as it pierced through. With a loud bang, it directly nailed Cao Dahai to the wall. Blood flowed from Cao Dahai's mouth, and his eyes revealed a hint of unwillingness. He never thought that he would actually die in the hands of Lu Fengxian. One had to know that he had always been afraid of Chu Xiu, including the reason why he called Su Chongyang over, was actually because he was afraid of Chu Xiu. However, he did not expect that Lu Fengxian, who seemed to only have an outstanding appearance, would actually have such terrifying strength. The other 2 warriors of the Black Tiger Gang were stunned. Their leader was dead. Should they still fight? One wanted to fight again because Chu Xiu was covered in blood and looked incomparably miserable. He had probably lost the ability to fight, and it was not easy for Lu Fengxian to fight 3 people in a row. After nailing Cao Dahai to death, his inner strength was about to be exhausted, and he was even panting slightly. As long as he finished off Lu Fengxian, they would win. The other one was frightened by this scene and only wanted to escape. Moreover, now that Cao Dahai was dead, the leader of the Black Tiger Gang should be changed. Therefore, the 2 of them moved at the same time, but the result was that they strangely rushed in 2 different directions. One escaped from the Chen family, and the other rushed towards Lu Fengxian. Seeing this scene, the warrior who attacked Lu Fengxian wanted to curse, but Lu Fengxian did not give him the chance to curse at all. A powerful halberd had already appeared in front of him. Although Lu Fengxian had consumed a lot of her own strength, an ordinary Xiantian stage warrior was still not a problem for Lu Fengxian. After a few moves, he was directly killed by Lu Fengxian. Chu Xiu did not chase after the warrior from the Black Tiger Gang who escaped. That person was already scared out of his wits. There was no point in killing him. There were more important things to do in front of him. The hall was filled with corpses and fresh blood. Chen Yuanji walked over and said with a smile, "This time, I really have to thank the 2 of you for helping my Chen family protect the purple leaf dogwood. My son has 2 good friends like you. It is really the fortune of 3 lifetimes." Chu Xiu shook off the blood on his blade and suddenly raised his head to ask, "Does Chen family head think that I'm an idiot?" The smile on Chen Yuanji's face froze, and he asked doubtfully, "Young hero Chu, why do you say that? Of course you can't be an idiot." Chu Xiu sneered and said, "Since I'm not an idiot, then do you think I'm the kind of idiot who would fight to the death just to help your Chen family protect the treasure, and in the end, only to receive a word of thanks from Chen family head?" Chen Yuanji's face suddenly changed and he said coldly, "Chu Xiu, what do you mean? You also want the purple leaf dogwood? When you took the initiative to help my Chen family, I was grateful, but I didn't expect you to be such an ambitious person." At this point, Chen Yuanji's face showed a trace of grief and indignation. "The 2 of you are strong, and I'm not a match for you. If you want the purple leaf dogwood, then take it. Consider that my Chen family has misjudged you this time." A faint smile appeared on Chu Xiu's face, but at this time, His face was covered in blood, and he looked somewhat ferocious. On the other side, the expression on Lu Fengxian's face was also as gloomy as water. Chu Xiu shook his head. I said, Chen family head, don't treat me as an idiot. I should say that from the beginning, you didn't believe the two of us at all. Chu Xiu took out the secret box containing the purple leaf dogwood, opened it, and casually threw it on the ground. There was only a pile of ordinary weeds inside. Chu Xiu turned his gaze to Lu Fengxian. Brother Lu, I said that you don't have a good eye for people. Do you believe me now? Lu Fengxian's face was gloomy and he didn't speak. Although he didn't want to believe that Chen Tong was lying to him, in fact, he had already seen that something was wrong. When Su Chongyang appeared just now, although they were at a disadvantage, they still had the strength to fight back. In the end, Chen Yuanji didn't make a move, and it was obvious that he had other thoughts. Seeing that his thoughts were seen through, Chen Yuanji put away the fake smile on his face and said coldly, Chu Xiu, don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. You said that I don't believe you, but you, Chu Xiu, didn't have good intentions from the beginning. You're the same as the Black Tiger Gang and the others. You're all after my Chen family's purple leaf dogwood. Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows. You've guessed wrong. It doesn't matter whether I have good intentions or not. What's important is that Brother Lu really wanted to help you, but in the end, you disappointed him. Chen Yuanji glanced at Lu Fengxian and suddenly sighed. Just as he was about to say something, a sharp look suddenly appeared in his eyes. 4 golden darts appeared in his hands, and with a whistling wind, they attacked Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian. Run! Chen Yuanji shouted at Chen Tong. Right now, Chu Xiu was seriously injured and half-crippled, and Lu Fengxian was also a little exhausted. If he wanted to run, these two might not be able to catch up to him. Lu Fengxian snorted coldly and swept the long halberd in his hand. The 4 golden darts were directly swept away by him, and then he threw the long halberd in his hand. Chen Tong couldn't dodge in time and was directly hit by the long halberd. He vomited blood and was sent flying. Chen Yuanji still remembered this son of his. Just as he was about to turn around, Chu Xiu was already behind him. Using the great sacrificial grappling hand, Chu Xiu's killing intent erupted and instantly twisted Chen Yuanji's arms, crippling him. Chu Xiu directly threw Chen Yuanji and Chen Tong in front of Lu Fengxian and said casually, Brother Lu, you've lost this bet. I won't be polite with the purple leaf dogwood. How are you going to deal with these two? Lu Fengxian didn't say it directly. Instead, he stared at Chen Tong and said, You looked for me in the beginning because you wanted to use me to make a connection with the memorial hall? You should know what kind of person I, Lu Fengxian, am. Why didn't you say it directly? Why did you have to lie to me? Seeing this scene, Chu Xiu couldn't help but shake his head. This old man had fallen for many people in his life, and it wasn't the first or second time. This Chen family was like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. They wanted to use the purple leaf dogwood to play a big game, but in the end, they lost themselves. If he had chosen to give the purple leaf dogwood to the 3 sects and let them fight for it, then nothing would have happened. In Chu Xiu's view, their idea of using the purple leaf dogwood to make a connection with the memorial hall was very stupid. This Chen family's patriarch obviously thought too highly of the memorial hall. The memorial hall was also a sect in the underworld. As long as it was a sect in the underworld, it was all about benefits. Even if you offered the purple leaf dogwood and made a connection with the memorial hall, it would be useless if you were too weak and too useless to bring benefits to the memorial hall. In the underworld, only benefits were eternal, but only strength was the real foundation. This Chen family's patriarch's strength was not even as good as Zhang Songling. It could be said that he was the weakest inborn expert that Chu Xiu had ever seen. With such a weak strength, he dared to scheme to make a connection with the memorial hall. This was the kind of person who didn't know his place. At this time, facing Lu Fengxian's accusation, Chen Tong's face revealed a trace of regret. However, he didn't regret lying to Lu Fengxian. He regretted bringing Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian together when he found out that they were together. He shouldn't have brought them to the Chen family. Unfortunately, it was all too late now. So Chen Tong directly gritted his teeth and said, Brother Lu, this matter is my family's fault. You can kill me, but please let my father go. He knew Lu Fengxian's character. He was decisive enough to deal with his enemies, but when it came to his friends, Lu Fengxian probably wouldn't be so ruthless. On the other side, Chen Yuanji also said in a hoarse voice, "Young heroes, this matter is all my fault. I was the one who came up with the idea. Please let my son go." Lu Fengxian let out a long breath. He directly said to Chu Xiu, "I'll leave it to you." After that, Lu Fengxian directly picked up his halberd and stood at the door. Chen Tong was right. Lu Fengxian couldn't be ruthless to his former friends, but it didn't mean that he was soft-hearted. Even in the face of Chen Tong's deception, he wouldn't let him go. Lu Fengxian knew Chu Xiu's character. Since he said that he would leave it to Chu Xiu, he didn't care what Chu Xiu would do to them. Chapter 70. Chu Xiu was a little surprised that Lu Fengxian asked him to deal with Chen Tong and his son. He thought that Lu Fengxian would let them go. However, after thinking about it, Chu Xiu felt relieved. The current Lu Fengxian was not the Lu Fengxian in the original plot. This was a real world. Compared with the unchanging game, people's hearts would change. The things that Lu Fengxian would experience in the original plot might not necessarily be experienced by the Lu Fengxian in the current world. Moreover, with Chu Xiu's intervention, Lu Fengxian might also experience some other things. This sudden thought made Chu Xiu a little anxious. Chu Xiu had always ignored one thing, and that was the butterfly effect. Since his rebirth, this world had actually deviated from the plot. Although the incident of the Chu family had happened, Shen Mo, a person who should not have died, had died. These were all trivial matters, so they would not cause the general plot to change for the time being. However, when Chu Xiu became stronger and stronger, or when he came into contact with more and more people, even Chu Xiu himself did not know what the world would eventually become. Simply put, compared with others, Chu Xiu's only advantage might gradually disappear. Chu Xiu shook his head, and there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. Whether it was the butterfly effect or the plot change, in this world, strength was the foundation of everything. As long as Chu Xiu kept moving forward towards this goal and reached the peak of this world, he would be able to rest easy and not be afraid of anything. In his previous life, he had endured for long enough. In this life, he naturally had to act bravely and aggressively. At the same time, he had to be careful of scheming in his heart. Only in this way could he walk all the way to the true peak. Chu Xiu tossed these thoughts to the back of his mind for the time being and looked at Chen Yuanji and his son. He searched their bodies but didn't find any violet dogwood. He said indifferently, "Is there any use in putting on a show of deep affection between father and son at this time? Hand over the purple dogwood." When they saw Lu Fengxian hand them over, Chen Yuanji and his son were in despair. They had only been in contact with Chu Xiu for 2 days, but they had already realized what kind of person he was. If they were to fall into his hands, they would probably be doomed. Chen Tong looked at him expectantly. "If we hand over the violet dogwood, will you let us go?" Chu Xiu shook his head. "It seems that you still don't understand what I mean. I asked you to hand over the purple dogwood. Is it so hard to understand?" As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Xiu directly stabbed the knife into Chen Tong's chest. He twisted the handle of the knife, but Chen Tong was already dead. Seeing his son killed in front of him, Chen Yuanji was instantly stunned. Chu Xiu drew his saber and said to him lightly, "You too. I'll give you a chance to hand over the purple dogwood." Chen Yuanji's eyes were bloodshot as he yelled at Chu Xiu crazily, "Dream on! I've hidden the purple dogwood. You won't be able to find it even if you turn the entire Chen family upside down. You killed my son. This time, I'll make sure that all your efforts will be in vain." Chu Xiu shook his head helplessly and said, "Another one who doesn't understand human language." This time, Chu Xiu didn't kill Chen Yuanji, nor did he waste his energy to really turn the Chen family upside down. He was still seriously injured. The most important thing was to take the items and find a place to recuperate. Chu Xiu went directly to the inner residence in the backyard of the Chen family, and forced some of the Chen family's collateral disciples and Chen Yuanji's direct relatives out. The Chen family wasn't strong to begin with. Other than Chen Yuanji, who was a Khanate realm expert, and Chen Tong, who was at the blood condensation realm, the rest were at the body tempering realm. Therefore, when they were fighting, Chen Yuanji didn't even let them come out to die. Instead, he made them all stay in the inner residence and were not allowed to come out no matter what they heard. In the end, they were all defeated by Chu Xiu. Seeing that Chu Xiu had forced dozens of people out, Chen Yuanji gritted his teeth and said, "Chu Xiu,
You don't follow the rules of the underworld. Rules of the underworld? Who set the rules? Chu Xiu said lightly, Chen Yuanji, you think that you've been in the underworld for your entire life. In fact, you don't even know what the underworld is. Only those with a saber in their hands have the right to set the rules. Now that I have a saber in my hands, my words are the rules. Chu Xiu didn't continue to interrogate Chen Yuanji. He directly turned his gaze to a martial artist in his 30s and asked, What's your position in the Chen family? The martial artist trembled and said, Manager. You're a manager in your 30s? Are you a collateral descendant of the Chen family? The martial artist reluctantly nodded. Do you know where the purple leaf dogwood is? The Chen family's manager hesitated for a moment and shook his head. However, before he could react, Chu Xiu directly slashed out with his saber and instantly decapitated the corpse, causing everyone in the Chen family to let out a scream. Lu Fengxian, who was standing at the entrance of the hall, frowned. He didn't agree with Chu Xiu's indiscriminate killing of innocent people, but he didn't say much when he thought of what Chen Yuanji and his son had done. Chu Xiu turned his gaze to the second person expressionlessly. Do you know where the purple leaf dogwood is? The second martial artist was in his 40s and was also a collateral descendant of the Chen family. When he saw Chu Xiu's gaze turn over, he immediately broke down and shouted, Don't kill me. I know. The purple leaf dogwood is in the secret room in the Patriarch's house, but the key to open the secret room is in the hands of the Patriarch and the young master. Only when the two keys are combined can the secret room be opened. Chu Xiu curled his lips and said, Take the key to open the secret room and bring me the purple leaf dogwood and the Chen family's medicinal pills. Don't think about escaping, unless you are confident that you can be faster than me. The Chen family's collateral descendant trembled as he searched Chen Tong's corpse for a copper cloud pattern that looked like an ornament. Then, under Chen Yuanji's murderous gaze, he found a very similar cloud pattern on his body. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to tell that it was the key. Holding the key, the Chen family's collateral descendant almost used the fastest speed to bring the purple leaf dogwood and a large bag of bottles and jars to Chu Xiu and said with a trembling voice, Sir, the Chen family's treasures are all here. Chu Xiu patted his shoulder and praised, Not bad. From now on, you are the Chen family's patriarch. The collateral descendant was stunned and stammered, but the patriarch. Before he could finish his words, Chu Xiu directly pierced Chen Yuanji with his saber and pulled out the crimson saber. He shook off the blood on the saber and said, It's done now. You are the new patriarch. After putting these things into the secret space box, Chu Xiu directly left with Lu Fengxian. Apart from Chen Yuanji and his son, there were no other direct descendants in the Chen family. After killing the two of them, the direct descendants could be considered to be completely destroyed. Moreover, before leaving, Chu Xiu casually appointed a collateral descendant to be the patriarch. He just said it casually, but things like power can make people lose themselves. Without the direct descendants, how the collateral descendants would fight was not something that Chu Xiu would consider. Now that Chu Xiu was seriously injured, he was not in a hurry to return to Luyang town. Instead, he planned to find a remote barren mountain to recuperate. On the way, Lu Fengxian suddenly said, Brother Chu, this time you helped me, I will leave all the purple leaf dogwood to you. I won't take my share. Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows and said, It's not really helping you. Actually, my goal from the beginning was the purple leaf dogwood. Moreover, if you hadn't stopped those three from the Black Tiger Gang, I wouldn't have been able to kill Su Chongyang. Lu Fengxian shook her head firmly and said, The meaning is different. To me, you are helping me. Seeing that Lu Fengxian was so insistent, Chu Xiu did not argue, because that was Lu Fengxian's personality. If you helped him a little, he would return 10 times the favor. Therefore, in the original plot, Nie Donglu was mostly trying to win over Lu Fengxian. But even so, in the end, Lu Fengxian was still willing to help Nie Donglu, and even took the blame for him. By the way, Brother Chu, I have something to say, although you might not like it. Lu Fengxian looked at Chu Xiu and said, Brother Chu, your personality is a little extreme, and it's easy for you to kill too many people, just like how you killed the collateral descendant of the Chen family today. Although killing is inevitable in the pugilistic world, you can't be controlled by killing intent. My master once said that when he was in the Northern Yan military, he fought with Eastern Qi and killed countless people. In the end, he was so angry that he almost killed his own people.
This kind of situation is a shock to the state of mind, and it can easily affect future cultivation.
Lu Fengxian did not blame Chu Xiu for killing innocent people. He was just worried that if Chu Xiu continued killing, it would be easy for him to fall into the devil's path.
Chu Xiu smiled and said, "Brother Lu, if I said that I actually don't like killing, would you believe me?"
Lu Fengxian did not say anything, but just looked at Chu Xiu with an expression that said, "Do you think I would believe you?" Chu Xiu shook his head and said, "I'm telling the truth. Killing is just a means to me to achieve my goal. If there is a more convenient and faster way, I would not want to kill people. But most of the time, killing is the best way to solve problems. Just like just now, there is a great fear between life and death.
Although there are many people in this world who are not afraid of death, there are definitely not many. You also saw that killing only one person saved me a lot of energy and time.
It's very worth it. Also, you don't have to worry that I will be affected by the killing intent and evil aura.
Among the cultivation techniques I'm practicing now, there is a devil's cultivation technique that can gather the killing intent and evil aura between heaven and earth to attack the enemy.
Its power in close combat is not inferior to Gang Qi.
No matter what kind of power it is just a means to me, a kind of tool.
People will not be driven and influenced by tools." Lu Fengxian nodded. It was good that Chu Xiu knew this.
Moreover, some of Chu Xiu's theories sounded very novel to him, and he felt a little emotional and inspired.
Chapter 71. In the Battle of Cold River Mansion, Chu Xiu's injuries were more serious. After all, Su Chongyang was a qi-controlling inner aura realm martial artist. Chu Xiu's bones were fractured and his internal organs were severely injured. If it were anyone else, they would be seriously injured. But Chu Xiu was different. He had the glazed gold thread goo.
After Chu Xiu was injured, the glazed gold thread goo could not absorb the qi and blood in Chu Xiu's body, so it instinctively released its own power to repair the injuries in Chu Xiu's body. Therefore, Chu Xiu's recovery speed was more than 10 times that of other martial artists. Of course, this time, Chu Xiu's biggest gain was the 6th rank elixir, Purple Dogwood. Normally speaking, a 6th revolution spirit herb would only be able to display its greatest medicinal effect when it was refined into a pill. However, refining a pill required a pill recipe and a very experienced alchemist. Such an existence basically came from a big sect. Even if Chu Xiu spent a lot of money to invite them to refine pills, he reckoned that they would not be willing to pay any attention to him. Therefore, Chu Xiu directly took out the purple dogwood and swallowed it into his stomach and began to refine it. The purple dogwood looked similar to a normal dogwood. The only difference was that the leaves were amethyst in color, which was very strange. Ordinary 1st rank to 3rd rank herbs could be cultivated on a large scale, but basically, the existence of 4th rank and above could be called elixir. It could not be cultivated artificially, so it could only be opened from a secret box, or could only go to some mountains and old forests to try their luck. Anyway, this kind of thing was a consumable, and the more it was used, the less it would be. After swallowing the purple dogwood, Chu Xiu suddenly felt a heat rising from his dantian. When he refined the purple dogwood, the power of the glazed gold thread goo began to help Chu Xiu refine the elixir, which was unexpected to Chu Xiu. When the original plot introduced the glazed gold thread goo, it did not say that it had such an effect. Of course, it was also possible that the moon-worshipping cult did not discover it. After all, the glazed gold thread goo did not stay in the hands of the moon-worshipping cult for long before it was lost. 7 days later, the elixir was completely refined, and even Chu Xiu's injuries were healed. The medicinal power of the purple dogwood was indeed amazing. Chu Xiu could even feel that his cultivation had improved a lot under the enhancement of the elixir. Of course, he had not reached the threshold of the inner aura realm yet. Over the past 7 days, LV Fengxian had been standing guard outside for Chu Xiu. Seeing Chu Xiu come out of seclusion, LV Fengxian was astonished. "Brother Chu, you've already recovered from your injuries in such a short period of time." He knew how miserable Chu Xiu was when he took Su Chongyang's punch head-on. However, from the looks of it, Chu Xiu's injuries seemed to have healed. Chu Xiu nodded and said, "My cultivation talent is not high, and my aptitude can only be regarded as average. The only advantage is that I heal faster after being injured." In the pugilistic world, the hardest thing to understand was the human heart. The glazed gold thread goo was a big secret for Chu Xiu. At least for Chu Xiu, who did not have the strength to protect the glazed gold thread goo, this matter must not be known to others. Therefore, even if Chu Xiu knew Lu Fengxian's character, he would never reveal the matter. But Chu Xiu also did not dare to tell his secret to Lu Fengxian. Being brave and aggressive when fighting was normal. It was like walking on thin ice and being more careful. After all, the negative example was right in front of him. Because the Chen family couldn't see themselves clearly, they wanted to use a treasure as a bargaining chip to exchange for benefits. That was why they ended up in such a state. Lu Fengxian did not doubt what Chu Xiu said. The pugilistic world was so big, and it was normal for some warriors to have some extraordinary talents. For example, he had a handsome face, but in fact, he was born with divine strength. He could wield a heavy weapon like halberd like a toy in his hands. Brother Chu, where are you going next? I came out of Yanxi this time and plan to wander in the Yan kingdom for a while, Lu Fengxian asked. Chu Xiu patted Lu Fengxian's shoulder and said, don't be so anxious to go out. Go back to Luyang Mountain and have a look. Maybe there will be a surprise. It has been rumored for a long time that Luyang Mountain has a rare treasure. We should be able to see it when we go back now. Is there really a rare treasure on Luyang Mountain? Lu Fengxian nodded and agreed without thinking. Anyway, he was ready to travel in the pugilistic world this time. It was the same wherever he went. When Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian returned to Luyang Mountain again, it was more lively than the last time. The reason was that in the past few days, Luyang Mountain would shine with a green light almost every night. The only strange thing was that everyone searched the entire Luyang Mountain and did not find anything unusual. However, even so, everyone could be sure that something was wrong with Luyang Mountain. At this time, it attracted the disciples of some big forces. When Chu Xiu heard the news, he thought to himself, the relic in Luyang Mountain is probably going to open soon. When the time comes, I'll just have to see how many people I can attract. In any case, there will definitely be an intense competition. In the loyalty manner, because someone reported what happened in Luyang Mountain to Nie Donglu thought about it and prepared to bring some people to Luyang Mountain. No one knew whether there were treasures in Luyang Mountain or not, but he had been in the loyalty manor for a while. It was a good time to go out and take a walk. Even if there were no treasures, it was good to relax. Otherwise, if there were really treasures, it would take at least 10 days from the loyalty manor to Luyang Mountain. By then, the treasures would have been snatched away. At this time, Nie Donglu seemed to think of something. The person Zhang Baitao wanted to kill last time was in Luyang Mountain, right? Nie Donglu asked the loyalty manor disciple beside him. By the way, how is Zhang Baitao? After such a long time, there should be news, right? The disciple said, there was news a long time ago, but young manor master was in seclusion at that time, so I didn't disturb you. Zhang Baitao killed that person? Nie Donglu frowned. He had used his connections to get revenge, but Zhang Baitao didn't even come back to thank him. This person was too unruly. The disciple shook his head and said, no, it was the Chu Xiu that Zhang Baitao wanted to kill. He killed all 4 of them in the inn in Luyang village. Nie Donglio's eyes were filled with surprise when he heard this. He knew the strength of Lu Yuanhai and the other 2. While they were not strong, they were not weak among the wandering cultivators of this generation in Linzhong Commandery. He did not know Zhang Baitao's strength, but as an inner sect disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, he would not be weak. It could be said that Nie Donglu would have to expend a lot of effort to defeat these 4 people. But they had fallen at the hands of another wandering cultivator. This was unbelievable. Nie Donglio's eyes revealed a trace of interest. If Chu Xiu was still in Lvyang Mountain, he was prepared to spend a lot of effort to recruit him. In reality, for Nie Donglu, compared to the disciples of the large sects, he was more inclined to befriend the powerful gangsters and wandering cultivators. When he befriended the disciples of the large sects, they first considered the benefits of the sects behind them. But when he befriended the wandering cultivators without any background, they had no benefits and could be used by him. As for the lives of those people, Nie Donglu really did not care. Zhang Baitao was just an ordinary inner sect disciple, not one of the true direct disciples of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. Of course he could befriend him. Now that he was dead, it would not affect Nie Donglu much. As for Lu Yuanhai and the other 2, they dared to come to the morgue to eat and drink and take advantage of others. Even without this matter, Nie Donglu was prepared to find a chance to deal with the 3 of them. This Chu Xiu had such strength at such a young age. If he befriended him now, when he took over the morgue, it would be of great help to him. Nie Donglu thought and said, "Go take a few people and prepare. We will leave for Luyang Mountain tomorrow morning." At this time, Nie Donglu was not the only one preparing to go to Luyang Mountain. Because of the increasing activity at Luyang Mountain, almost all the factions near Luyang Mountain had sent their disciples to Luyang Mountain. Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian had long since prepared. The two of them went up the mountain first and found a quiet corner to sit down cross-legged, paying attention to the activity on the mountain. Now there would be green light shooting into the sky from Luyang Mountain every night as though it was seeping out of the ground. Many people had started to dig, but found nothing. Chu Xiu knew that this was because the relic formation inside Luyang Mountain was about to lose its effectiveness. It probably would not be long before the formation completely broke, and the relic would open. There was an ancient expert buried in the ruins, and there were many good things left behind by that expert. With so many people here, Chu Xiu was not greedy enough to want to take everything away. That was too unrealistic. However, there were a few important things that he was determined to obtain. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.